police officer Brett Robinson is suing 23-year-old student Anissa Davis for filing a false complaint with his department. Anissa is countersuing for emotional distress due to malicious prosecution.
Yeah, this is case number 85 on the calendar in the matter of Robinson versus Davis.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
You are a police officer, sir, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Where are you a police officer?
Los Angeles Police Department.
How long have you been a police officer?
19 years.
According to what I've read, you gave the defendant a traffic ticket, and that traffic ticket was for speeding?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was the speed that she was traveling, and what was the zone?
She was traveling 58 miles an hour in a 40-mile-an-hour zone.
Your complaint states that subsequent to giving her a ticket, she wrote a letter, or a series of letters, one to your captain, one to the chief, complaining about the treatment she received from you. And as a result of those letters, there was an investigation, and while there was a finding of no fault, I assume, is that right?
Correct, Your Honor.
Those letters will remain in your file, and you want to be compensated because you said everything that she said about you was a lie.
That's true.
So first I have to find out from Ms. Davis. I'd like to see from you a copy of the letter that you sent to Officer Robinson's superiors. Now, can you also please identify who your witnesses are?
I am my father, James Davis, and my mother, Winnie Davis.
Okay. And neither of them were present during the course of this
No, they weren't.
incident. Is that right?
Yes.
Perfect. And your father, from what I gather from your answer, as well as from Officer Robinson's complaint, is a retired police officer. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. Now, Ms. Davis, I would like you to start from the beginning.
Okay.
The very beginning.
Your Honor,
And tell me what happened when Officer Robinson stopped you.
Well, I would like to start off by saying that it has nothing to do with the actual citation. I wrote the letter about expressing my feelings to the police department about the way that I was treated and how I felt.
Why don't you just answer my question? I asked you to tell me what happened from the moment that he pulled you over for speeding.
Okay. He pulled me over and he told me that I was allegedly going too fast.
Pulled you over,
Mm-hmm.
and he said to you, what were his words?
I don't remember his exact
What
words.
did you say to him?
Hello. I rolled down my window. He asked for my license and registration.
Did you have your license?
Yes, I did.
Did you have your registration?
Yes, I did.
Fine. So he took the license, and what did he do with it?
He proceeded to tell me what he stopped me for, and he went back to his car.
No, I don't want you to tell me he proceeded to tell me what he stopped me for. He said something to you. I stopped you for speeding. You were going 58 miles in a 40-hour zone. What did he say to you, Miss Davis?
I'm sorry, I'm just very nervous.
Well, get unnervous. Did he say to you, I'm giving you a ticket because you were speeding?
Yes.
Fine. And what did you say to him?
I asked him if he knew my father.
And what did he say to you?
He said he knew exactly who my father was.
You said to him, do you know who my father is? And he must have said to you, who's your father?
Yes.
And you said?
Jim Davis.
And he said, I know exactly who your father is.
He said, yes, he's a retired police officer. Yes, he did. That's what he said.
No, what did he say to you? Did he say, I know he's a retired police officer, or did he say, I know exactly who your father is?
He's a retired police officer. I know exactly who he is.
Fine. And then what did he do?
He went back to his motorcycle to continue writing my ticket.
And what did you do?
I looked for my insurance.
Did you find it?
Yes.
And did you, at some point, get out of the car?
Yes.
Was it before or after you found your insurance?
Probably during. I made a phone call on my cell phone.
Who did you make a phone call to?
To my father.
What for?
Because I was nervous about the way I was being treated.
So far you have been treated perfectly.
Yeah, but...
So far you have been treated perfectly, professionally and perfectly. So what did you call your father for?
Because I wanted to ask him a question.
What question did you want to ask him?
About my insurance, because I had just gotten a new insurance card because my car had been broken into, so I called...
Perfectly reasonable. So when you got your father on the phone, what did you say to him?
I told him that I had just been stopped by a police officer for speeding, and he said, can I talk to the officer? So at that point, with the insurance in my hand, I got out of the car, and I went up to him, and I asked him if I could ask him something. And he put his hand up in my face.
No, you didn't say that to him at all. Don't give me baloney. You said, my father wants to talk to you.
No, I said, can my father talk to you? Can I?
Right, that's exactly what you said. Can my father talk to you? Don't leave that out. And he put his hand up in your face and said what?
He said, I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking to anybody. Go to your car. He didn't want to discuss anything further with me.
Sounds perfectly right to me. Doesn't it sound perfectly right to you, former retired police officer Davis? That requires a simple yes or no. Is anything
Yes,
that your
ma'am.
daughter said to you sound untoward on the part of this officer?
She's left a couple of things out.
No, you weren't there.
Yes, ma'am, you're correct.
You weren't there. So if you were me, and you've been around the ballpark a little bit, if you were me listening to your daughter right now, would you find anything untoward in this police officer's conduct?
Only the part about he didn't want to talk to her and go have a seat in the car.
No. What she said was she wanted him to talk to you. And you were going to try to talk him out of giving your daughter a ticket.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Absolutely, positively, 100%. As I'm sitting here and he's standing there.
Not anymore.
Speak. Listen to me. Speak not. Otherwise, there is absolutely no reason for you to have.
May I say something?
Called. Say nothing, sir. Don't embarrass yourself.
I won't.
You will. Believe me, you will. You will embarrass yourself because that is exactly what happened. She called you on the phone and she said, I'm going to get a speeding ticket. And you said, let me speak to the guy. That's what your daughter told me.
That's not correct.
Well, that's what your daughter just told me. You mean she's lying? She said to me, my father said, let me talk to him. And I got out of the car holding my insurance card in my hand with the phone. And she walked over to him and said to him, my father wants to talk to you. And he put up his hand and he said, I don't want to talk to you, and I don't want to talk to your father. That's what she just told me. I didn't make that up.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You know why you called your father, and the fact that he wouldn't respond to it is to his credit.
But the fact is that he did not want to continue to talk to me.
He doesn't have to talk to you. You want to talk to somebody, go to a psychiatrist.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Police officer Brett Robinson says after giving Anissa Davis a speeding ticket, she filed a false complaint with his department.
Go ahead.
She left out part of the phone conversation, which I was privileged to. Where she asked me, she told me she got stopped for speeding. And I asked her, I said, did he use a radar? Did he follow you? Did he estimate your speed? What did he do? And she said, I don't know. And I said, get out of the car and ask him. She came back 2 seconds later and said, he said it was not radar. And I said, fine. And she said, would you like to talk to him? And I said, if he'll talk to me, I'll talk to him.
Listen to me, sir. Those are questions that are left for a court. You know that, and I know that. The way to fight a ticket is to go to a hearing and ask just the questions that you wanted her to ask this officer when he was giving her a ticket. He is under no obligation whatsoever to provide that information. And you know that as a former police officer.
Yes, ma'am.
So far, he did nothing untoward. Nothing. And she had no right to write a letter. None. Now you may be seated. Now I'm going to ask you some other things. Who wrote the letter?
I did.
With whose help?
With my mother and father.
Right.
But I wrote the letter with my thoughts and my ideas.
Oh, your thoughts and your
feelings.
ideas. Listen to me. I want you to understand something. I've been around the ballpark a long time. How did I know that you did not write this letter by yourself?
I'm an educated college student. I don't know why why I wouldn't be able to
Because
write
I
this
could
letter.
tell that you didn't write it yourself. That's how. Come. I could tell you didn't write it yourself. It may have been your thoughts or your ideas, but the words weren't all yours. So that comes out of vindictiveness. He was annoyed that this officer gave his daughter a ticket and would not get on the phone with him because, after all, he should have done it as a courtesy. And he didn't.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Yeah, it's true.
I
It's
did-
absolutely true. And you did the wrong thing because you were a spoiled brat driving a little bit too fast and you got stopped, and your father, I don't know if he's ever gotten you out of difficulty before, but you figured, while I'm looking for my insurance card, I'm going to call my father. There was no reason for that because you had the insurance card in your hand. You had any questions for your father, you ask him the questions after you get the ticket when you get home. There was no reason to call him then. Absolutely none. So you know why you called your father. I know why you called your father. He knows why you called your father, and the fact that he wouldn't respond to it is to his credit that you got no more of a favor than anybody else that he might have stopped.
But the fact is that he did not want to continue to talk to me.
He doesn't have to talk to you. You want to talk to somebody, go to a psychiatrist. He doesn't have to talk to you. He's giving you a ticket.
To someone who's a police officer, who I look up to, who is on duty
Please.
in uniform.
Please.
Someone who I look up to and I respect, and who doesn't want to even talk to me after that whole incident.
Let me explain something to you, madam. He doesn't want to be pressured. And before you got out of the car with your cell phone, with your father on the line, he said nothing untoward to you, according to you, and even according to your father. It wasn't until after you made the phone call, according to you, that he put his hand up in your face and refused to talk to you. And he doesn't have to talk to you. That's what you go to therapy for. His responsibility is to give you a ticket, to say quiet, and to say license, registration. I am giving you a ticket for speeding. I'm speaking. Now you're not so nervous anymore. You're interrupting the judge. I'm giving you a ticket for speeding. You were going 58 miles in a 40-hour zone. Here is your ticket. You can respond to it. You can plead guilty. You can plead not guilty. That's it. Other than that, he has to say diddly squat to you. So he acts totally professionally. License, registration, proof of insurance. Thank you very much. Have a seat in your car. You don't like it? You go home, you pick up the phone, you call your therapist, and you say, I had a very bad day today. I need an appointment. I need to vent for an hour. You don't write a letter to his superiors. Now, my question to you, sir, is you've been very quiet. The reason I started with her first is because what's the point in listening to you? I wanted to find out what she was complaining about.
Yes, sure.
Now, you're suing her for $5,000.
Yes,
I want to know what you're going to do with this $5,000 if you get it.
I really hadn't had any plans for that yet. What I wanted to ask you, or what I wanted to tell you earlier, is that what she put in the letter obviously is completely untrue, and I have proof of that. I have a tape recording of the conversation that occurred between Miss Davis and myself. What she has told her father, what she has told you, and what she has told the station is completely untrue.
Oh, I would like to hear that. You mean it's even worse?
Can I respond to
Well,
that?
Absolutely not.
So what's on the tape and what you've read in the letter is night and day.
Go ahead.
Afternoon. I'm Officer Robinson with LAPD. Three things. The first one is I got your speed here on Wilbur with a laser at 58. Speeding at 40. And then I also noticed that your left brake light is out and stuff on the brakes on the phone behind you. Do you have your license with you?
Do you have a transcript?
Yes, I do.
Can I see the transcript,
Yes, you
please?
Can I say something, Your Honor?
Sure.
First of all, I had no clue that he had this. This is the first time I've heard of it. And he has control to start, stop, and alter any part of this tape.
I want to read what you say. I mean, that's your voice, right? He didn't get somebody to dub your voice.
No, I'm saying, but
Good.
he has the option as his recorder to...
Quiet. Initially, when he said, do you have your license with you? You know what you responded to him? I do, which I heard there. Oh, wow. My dad's a policeman, too, and I'm having the worst time of all.
Oh, wow.
With my finals. I don't know if this matters at all. My dad works with you. Oh, Miss Davis, do you live on Brimer? Yes. Who is your father? Sergeant Davis. He works for Valley Traffic. He's a sergeant, too. Is he a motorcycle officer? Yes, he is. What's his first name? You say Jim Davis. Officer. Yeah, your dad's retired. I know who your dad is, but he's retired. It doesn't matter whether he's working or retired. You're responsible for your own driving. You say your vehicle is registered. What year is it? It's a 95. All right. Wait. All right. He says, do you wait right here? I'll be right with you. And then you say to him, my dad wants to talk to you for a second. I'm not going to talk and handle your phone. Why don't you go ahead and wait over there by your vehicle or in your vehicle?
Can I add that he put his hand in my face and said, I'm not talking to your dad, I'm not talking to you, go to your vehicle?
I'm holding a ticket book in my
Just
left
a second.
hand.
So what?
And a pin in my
Just
right.
a minute. So
You had your ticket
So
book
listen
and
to
a
me.
pen?
So what?
To me, a man in uniform, someone who works for the Los Angeles Police Department, should not be putting a hand in my face.
You're a big baby.
No.
You're a big baby. I don't know how many times your father's gotten you out of scrapes before. This time, he couldn't, and you got annoyed, and so did he.
This had nothing to do with the citation.
Listen to me. Can't you get this through your head? He did nothing wrong. You did. First you were speeding, and then you tried to get out of the ticket by telling him that your father was a police officer. You did something wrong. And then when you got the ticket anyway, you wrote a letter, and your father, maybe because he has nothing better to do, and your mother, I don't know what she does, participated in authoring this letter, which is going to sit in his personnel file, and it's wrong. And you owe him an apology. So stop defending your behavior. You owe him an apology.
And I didn't write the letter for the citation. He's doing this for retaliation for personal gain. He's suing me for $5,000 because I'm expressing my feelings to the department about how he lacks.
You've been living in L.A. too long.
No, actually,
I think you ought to go live someplace else. You've been living in L.A. too long.
Actually,
now I want you to be. Now I want you to be quiet because I'm speaking.
Life.
For somebody who's nervous, you talk pretty well. So I want you to be quiet. My question to you, officer, it's worse than what I thought because she tried to influence you through her father immediately on being stopped. It wasn't later on, as she has indicated, but it was immediate.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What I'm asking you, Officer Robinson, is you're suing her for $5,000.
Yes, ma'am.
She's got a counterclaim, ridiculous counterclaim, because for $5,000, punitive damages and emotional distress due to malicious prosecution.
And
she's operating in La La Land someplace.
I have copies of all of my medical and psychiatric things
listen
right
to
here
me.
when you're...
Listen, shh, hey, quiet. Listen to me. You were wrong. Get it through your head. Madam, you were wrong. Your counterclaim is dismissed. All I'm asking you is, what do you plan on doing with the $5,000? Are you planning on keeping it, or is there a charitable organization through the LAPD that you would like to donate this money to? If I give you the money, now that I've told her she is, whether she gets it or not, 150% out of line. She had no right to write the letter. He had no right to participate in writing the letter. He should have asked the same questions I did. He should have known that his daughter did the wrong thing by bringing up his name when she got stopped for a ticket. Maybe her mother doesn't understand enough to tell her that she did the wrong thing, to encourage this kind of irresponsible behavior. But I'm going to ask you, what do you want to do with the money?
Well, I think I would like to donate to the Police Memorial Foundation.
That sounds just fine. I'm entering a judgment for $5,000. But since I believe that Ms. Davis maligned the police department as well as you, $2,500 of that will go to the LAPD Memorial Foundation, $2,500 to you. Thank you very much. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. Yeah, this is case number 116 on the calendar in the matter of Hinton versus Harbor Estrada. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks have seats.
How old are you, Mr. Hinton?
19.
What's your first name?
Sammy?
Sammy, what's your last name?
Harbor.
Sammy used to be your girlfriend.
Yes.
This is her mom.
Yes, ma'am.
What you're complaining about is, while Sammy was your girlfriend, you claim to have loaned her some stereo equipment for her car.
Yes.
And you want it back.
Yes.
Sammy says you didn't loan her anything. You made her a gift of the stereo equipment for her car. And in addition, that you've been making a real pest of yourself, harassing her. You broke into her car, took back a piece of the equipment that you claim to have loaned her, an amplifier. Is that right, Sammy?
Yes.
Is that right, Mr. Hinton?
No.
Did you take back an amplifier?
No, Your Honor.
Who did? Anybody you know?
I've never heard nothing about it.
Mr. Hinton, let's not play with each other. Do you have the amplifier back?
No, Your Honor.
They also say that you broke into the house,
It's not correct.
killed her goldfish, calling, sending emails, making a general pest of yourself. And they're countersuing. So tell me how it came about that you gave her this stereo equipment.
Well, we broke up May of 2002. We remained friends, and in August she came over and wanted to borrow all that equipment. We were still friends, and I had plenty of it, so I let her borrow it. And she wanted to borrow the amplifier.
Tell me what she said to you.
She said, "Can I borrow it?"
Can I borrow what? Mr. Hinton.
Can I borrow the speakers, the amplifier, 212s, 210s? And she just bought a new car. She wanted to put it in there. And she said she'd give it back once her mother bought her some new ones.
She'd give it back once her mother bought her some new ones.
Yes.
And what did you say?
I said, yes. We're still
Well, what would
friends.
happen, Mr. Hinton, if her mother never bought her new ones?
Well, she'd eventually give it back.
You didn't have that discussion.
Well, she said her mother would buy her new ones.
That's not what you said to me, Mr. Hinton. You got to be very careful, sir. You got to get up real early in the morning. If I believed what you say, she said, can I borrow yours or can I have yours until my mother buys me my own?
She said, can I borrow yours until my mother buys me some more?
Right. Okay, let's say she said that to you.
And...
Shh, listen to me. Let's say she said that to you.
All right.
Let me explain a contract
All right.
to you, Mr. Hinton. Because what you're suing on is a verbal contract. A loan. A loan has to have an offer and acceptance and some possibility, an offer, which means you offered to loan her the equipment. She accepted the offer to borrow the equipment, according to you. That's not what she's going to tell me, but according to you. And then there has to be an event that's going to happen that causes the equipment to go back. Do you understand? An event like May 2nd, June 6th, on Bird's birthday, on my birthday, on your birthday, the equipment's going to go back. In your case, what you told me is she told you that the equipment would go back to you when her mother bought her new equipment. Do you understand?
Yes.
And my question to you is, what happens if her mother never buys her new equipment? That means you never get your equipment back. Do you understand the terms of the contract, sir?
Yes, but a few months I called her back and she said she'd send it back with her mother when she came to Albuquerque. And then I waited, her mother never showed up. I called again, she gave me the same runaround. So then the third time I called, she said, if you want your stuff, come get it yourself. And she lives about 3 hours away from me. So I drive down there, I stay at a friend's house, Las Cruces, which is about 70 miles from
Past. Shh, don't interrupt him.
which is about 70 miles from there. And I call her in the morning before she goes to school. She says, come get it at 3:30. I said, all right. I go over there, I call her house, nobody's home. I call again after I drive around, still nobody's there. So I go to her school.
You're putting me to sleep, you know that.
I go to her school, and I see her car there. I'm parked out there in the parking lot, and I see her grandparents. They drive up to my car saying, what are you doing here? We don't want you here. We don't want you around Sammy Joe. I say, Sammy Joe told me to come get my stuff. I'm here to get it. Then they get me saying that I stole stuff from her, CDs, tapes from a 70-year-old woman and man. I don't think I listen to that kind of music. And then I say, can you just go ask Sammy Joe if she has my stuff so I can get out of this town? They park next to a gray car. They come back, and the gray car comes circling around me, like the guys in the car throwing their hands up, yelling and wanting to fight. The grandparents are all, look, they don't want you in this town. You better leave. I said, what did Sammy Joe say? He said, your equipment's in her boyfriend's car, and you're not getting it back. Your Honor, her boyfriend don't even have a car. So at that point, I was frustrated. I went home, and I received these emails from her, some very vulgar emails, if you'd like to read them.
I would certainly like to read them.
And in
Mr. Hinton, how old was Sammy when you gave her the equipment?
15.
See, that's another problem you have, Mr. Hinton, because what you are suing on in court is a contract, right?
Yes.
Because a contract can be written or it can be verbal. You didn't have a written contract. With her, it was verbal, right?
But my witness was there when she said about it.
You're not paying attention to me, sir. You're paying attention to what's going on in your own head. What we're talking about here is a verbal contract, which has the same force and effect as a written contract, right? Except you have to be 18. Because a minor can't enter into a binding contract. Now read the emails. Well, although this has to do with your lack of sexual prowess, sir, this has nothing to do with this has absolutely nothing to do with the stereo equipment. It's interesting.
This one, right?
Listen to me. It's interesting, but it has absolutely nothing to do with this case. So while I found it sort of salty, dear, I won't even show it to your mother.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Have you ever been incarcerated?
No.
Would you like to be incarcerated?
No.
There is a strong possibility that if you don't leave these people alone, you're going to find yourself incarcerated.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jacob Hinton says ex-girlfriend 16-year-old Sammy Jo Harbor owes for the return of a car stereo. Sammy Jo says Jacob won't stop harassing her.
Now I'll read the other one. Thanks, Bird. What is this?
It's a letter my grandmother wrote.
I'm not interested in a letter that your grandmother wrote, sir.
Asking her about whether or not I let her borrow it or not. And she says, in the highlighted, she clearly writes that she's going to return it.
Talk about a PlayStation here.
Yeah, in her counterclaim, she says she bought the whole PlayStation, which she did not. In that, she says she did not.
Get with the issue, Mr. Hinton. The issue is the stereo equipment for the car. Now, Sammy, how old are you, dear?
16.
First of all, I'm going to suggest that there's a very good lesson to you. Don't put things in writing that you don't want other people to read. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you have some emails to show me that he sent to you?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see them.
Are you sure?
Am I sure?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are from one of his friends from Albuquerque.
I don't want to read emails from his friends.
Well, from him and him telling this
Just
girl.
a second. Would you return these to him? I don't have time to read a tome. If I wanted to read a good book, I would buy a good book. Get me the emails from him.
There's one in the back.
And don't aggravate me. My voice is going today. Thanks, Bird. I guess you're not going into the ministry either. You know that there are other four-letter words in the English language like love and like and...
Like?
And bike, right? Bike, right? Joke. Dumb. It's a four-letter word that comes to mind.
Hate.
Hate. No. Dumb. No. Doesn't hate. He's 19. He was 18. He was 17 when he was involved with your daughter. They have raging hormones. You know, their best friend isn't their mind.
No.
If you know what I mean.
Not by
Both of them.
I know.
Both of them. Their best friend isn't their brain. Sometimes it stays that way.
Hopefully not.
All right, but I don't want to deal with this anymore. Mr. Hinton, you gave her the stereo equipment. Get over it. Stop crying. Stop fetching. Now, what proof do you have that he broke into your house and your harassment, the emails that you're talking about, the emails that he wrote to?
Yes.
You ought to read hers.
I have. Yes.
Well, so stop. I don't want any fetching about the emails. I want to know what proof that you have that he broke into your house.
During the time that we were together, which is approximately 2 years, he was over at my house a lot, and I have 2 dogs, and they don't let strangers into our yard and our house area. And we had just moved here, and they're not going to let anybody they don't know into our yard. And they broke into my room specifically, and he's the only one that had been in my house and knows what room.
That's not proof good enough for a court.
Ma'am,
Unless your mother has some other proof.
the neighbor across the street saw a vehicle.
Be more than
like
happy to
his.
hear the neighbor.
Well, this isn't the neighbor. This is the boy that was there that she was a witness to when he gave her the equipment, but...
I need a witness.
Okay.
Not you telling me what a witness is going to tell me. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, do you have any proof?
An email where he admitted stealing the CDs out of the car.
That if he admitted,
Go get it.
to shut. Hey, if you have an email where he acknowledges that he stole property out of her car, I will read it.
We didn't bring it, but we do have it. I'm sorry.
Okay. If you had the email, I would read it.
Okay.
That's a confession. It's a
Yes,
written
ma'am.
confession. And then I would show it to him.
Okay.
Confront him with it. Anything else?
Well, we're countersuing for the harassment, too. Not only did...
What harassment?
calling, coming by. We asked him not to call our house. He threatened her. He broke into my house, which you say I can't prove. That's fine. He claimed his grandmother, which you have that email, said that he says my son let him into our house at that date. My son was gone to a barrel race with me.
I never said that.
Listen to me. Let's get over it. When was the last contact your daughter had with him?
The day that he took me up into
He
the
kidnapped
mountains
her.
when we had gone.
Give me the date.
It was before I had gotten the speaker equipment. And he had given me the speaker equipment as...
That's a witness.
Give me the date.
It's September.
September of '02.
About there, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So the last
That's after I gave you the... That's after I said I gave it to her in August.
It was August or
I'm
September.
asking you
How
a
was your
question. The last contact you had with him was in September of
No, ma'am.
2002?
August.
Except for when he
Except for
came
his
to our
grandmother.
house.
When was that?
He came in February to...
February of '03.
Yes,
We
ma'am.
went to her house.
Shh. Hey,
He came in February of '03.
since then, has he contacted you?
He calls and hangs up.
You can't prove that.
Caller ID.
Then I think that you should file a police report.
They told me to at our local county.
Well,
They
then that's
wanted
what
me
you ought to do.
throw
You
him
file
in
a police
jail.
report because that's aggravated harassment
Yes,
if he's
ma'am.
doing it. You have him arrested for that. Good.
Yes,
That's what
ma'am.
you ought to do. But other than that, he hasn't come around. Is that right? Since February?
No, ma'am,
Good.
until we got
Perfect.
this notice.
Perfect. Mr. Hinton, I want you to listen to me very carefully. Have you ever been incarcerated?
No.
Would you like to be incarcerated?
No.
There is a strong possibility, that if you don't leave these people alone, you're going to find yourself incarcerated. Now, I know that 19 sounds like, you still got years to go before you develop. But in the eyes of the law, you're a grown-up. And this kind of kid stuff is not kid stuff anymore. Calling, hanging up, having somebody else call, hang up, sending stupid emails that may not be threatening, but just put your hand down, madam. It's all stupid because it can get you into trouble. It's over with Sammy Joe. The love affair is over. She doesn't want to have any part of you anymore. The only part that she wants to have of you is the stereo equipment that you let her borrow until her mother got her new stuff. By the way, did you ever get her new stereo equipment?
No, ma'am.
Well, then the eventuality, even if she could make a contract, never came to pass. So I'm going to suggest that you devote your time to going to school, maybe take a business course in contracts. But leave her alone. Now, Semi,
Yes.
sometimes young girls, even though they don't want to have anything to do with exes anymore, like to feel as if they still have their attention. That better not be so in this case, because if you write them, call them, contact them, tell a friend you'd like to see him, whatever it is, it's not very smart. You let Mr. Hinton and his hormones grow up. You got it? Now, it's been many months since there has been contact between the two of you. The longer that goes, the better off you both are. So you have February, March, April, May, June, July. Months. It's over! You have a new girlfriend?
No.
Listen, Mr. Hinton,
What?
find one. What are you doing with your life?
Nothing.
You go to school
Yes, Your Honor.
5 days a week?
2.
For what?
Medical school.
You go to medical school 2 days a week? In what country? I want to stay away from that country. What kind of medical school do you go to 2 days a week, sir?
TVI.
What are they teaching you to do?
Be a radiology technician.
That's good. That's not medical school, by the way. You're learning to be a radiology technician. Why only 2 days a week?
That's full time.
Do you live at home?
Yes.
Why aren't you working?
I haven't found a job.
What?
I haven't found a job.
How hard are you looking?
Not really hard.
You still in school?
I just graduated.
And what are you doing?
I start college in Las Cruces in August.
Good. Say goodbye to each other. Hopefully you're not going to see each other again. Right? Good. Don't email him. Don't call him. Don't contact him. Sir, forget her number. You got it?
It's already forgotten, Your Honor.
Good. And if you're smart, you change your number. You don't want him to call. Change your number. You run a business out of the house?
No, ma'am.
Good. Change your number. Bye.
Here's case number 150 on the calendar in the matter of Langley versus Panuti. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mrs. Langley, is this your husband?
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Panuti is the girlfriend of your husband's younger brother, and it is your claim that Miss Panuti assaulted you.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Panuti said quite the contrary. It was you who assaulted her, and she is counterclaiming.
Yes, ma'am.
For the same thing. So I'd like you to tell me when this happened, where it happened, and eventually I'm going to try to figure out why this happened. So I know who most of the players are. Husband of plaintiff, boyfriend of defendant, and who are you?
I'm the mother of Christy, Your Honor.
You're her mother?
Christy's mother, yes.
Okay, good. Go.
Okay, Your Honor. My husband and I have been together for 16 years, and that would have made John 3 years old when I met my husband. We've had a long history with John. He used to come spend the night.
That's John.
John, yes. Him and his other older brother used to come spend the night at our house all the time. He's a high school dropout. During the time that he knew Christy, he was in alternative school. He dropped out. He doesn't have a steady job. He has stole money from his parents to have a supposed abortion for Christy.
I don't want to go into that history. Do you understand? That's
well, that's what brings it all to this point today.
All right, well, just let's get there.
Okay. The last of March, 1st of April, my father-in-law kicked John out of the house due to the fact that him and Christy got in a big fight, a brawl in their house, ripped phone cords out of the wall, knocked holes in the wall, and turned furniture over. We also found...
Just a second.
We also found...
Shh, I'm speaking. You have to stop when I'm speaking. Did you have some sort of an argument with your boyfriend?
No,
it's
sir.
It's very easy to find out. All I have to do is pick up the phone.
No, ma'am.
Really?
That day,
Any day?
Yes, we've had arguments, Your Honor.
Within a week's period of time, was there a fight?
An argument, yes, ma'am.
Ah, okay. Go ahead.
There was holes knocked in the wall.
Did you see that?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Your Honor, she was not there that day.
What day?
The day that me and my boyfriend got in an argument.
I thought you said there wasn't that kind of a fight, that we just got into an argument.
We did just get into an argument. She was not there. There was no holes in the wall.
She didn't say she was there that day, Miss Panuti.
Okay.
I said, did you see the holes in the wall?
Okay.
You could see that later.
Yes, ma'am.
So don't speak until I speak to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So they had a big argument, and what happened as a result of the argument, Miss Langley?
My husband had to go over there and repair the walls because John or Christy would not.
Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
During that time, my husband called over to his parents' house looking for his brother. Can I let him speak
Sure.
as far as that
Step
goes?
Up. Around that time, sir, the end of March, the beginning of April.
I called over to the house.
Which house?
My parents' house.
Is that where John was living?
In and out. I mean, my father's been trying to kick him out for almost a year now, but he won't leave. I mean, I was extremely mad. I heard her in the background. Then I blew up. I thought he better get her out of the house before I get there.
What did you hear her say?
I didn't know who I was messing with, that she was going to kick my ass.
Your Honor, that's
kick her.
a lie.
Did you understand what I said to you before?
Yes, ma'am.
What did I say to you before?
Don't speak unless spoken to.
Right. Didn't your mother teach you that?
Yes, ma'am.
Evidently, you didn't learn it too well. Go ahead.
So anyway, she was, I didn't know who I was messing with. She was going to, beat everybody up. And I hung the phone up, got in my truck, and I went to my parents' house. They had both left because he knew I meant business when I was coming over there. They were
They left.
Yeah, they left.
Okay. What happened next?
At that time, John left. And he did stay gone for probably 3 weeks. Okay, when he came back on April 17th, him and his father got in an argument again. The police were called. He was told to leave. The father didn't want him there. His mother got upset, didn't want him to leave in that manner.
So the father said, get out, and your mother said you could stay?
Well, actually, my mom told my father to leave because he came home about 11:30 that night drunk. And we sat down
I'm talking about you, not your father.
My dad wanted me to leave, but my mom wanted me to stay.
That's what I just said.
Yes, ma'am.
Stand up. So if your father wanted you to leave, why didn't you leave?
Because my mom wanted me to stay. I had come home about 9:30 that night. My mom was in bed, and I just went in my room, laid down. My dad came home around 11:30,
Just a minute. What were you doing home? You left and then you just showed up again?
Well, my mom had left out of town on a cruise, and me and my dad, we've never really gotten along.
Well, evidently they didn't want you in the house and they didn't want your girlfriend in the house. Your brother says you didn't help patch up the holes in the walls that you put in the walls along with your girlfriend. Why didn't you help patch up the holes in the walls?
Well, the holes that he's talking about, there's one in the hallway across.
I don't care where they are. Why? Didn't you fix up the mess? There's no reason.
Yes, ma'am.
You can say there's no reason. If there's no reason, then your father has good reason to say to you, I don't want you in the house. You or your girlfriend. Go find a job.
I have a steady job. I've had a steady job for 8, 9 months now.
Wonderful. If you have a steady job, then go find a place to live so that you're not causing friction between your mother and your father. If you're working, get out. Parents raised you, they supported you, they took care of you. Now it's time to get out and fly on your own. They don't have to be there involved in domestic violence between you and Miss Big Mouth over here. All right. So they came back on April 17th. Father-in-law said, I want him out. Mother said, let him stay, he's my baby. Somehow you got involved with this. You want to tell me how that happened?
Yes, ma'am. My father-in-law, after he wanted my husband to come over that night to help get John to leave, I guess, you know, between him and his wife, they decided we're not going to deal with it tonight. He said, y'all wait and come by in the morning. I have a statement. He has health issues.
I believe that he called you and said, 2 of you come over and see if you can talk to him.
Okay, because I love John.
Okay, so you went over there the next day without your husband. Don't get upset now. You're holding it together really well. Take a deep breath. Good girl.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Just because you can look like that to your mother, I want to tell you something. It doesn't cut anything with me. Your mother thinks of you as her baby. I do not.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Luann Langley says her brother-in-law's fiancée, Christy Panuti, fractured her nose during a fight. Christy says Luann punched her first.
So you went over there?
On my way to work. He had left the back door open for us. My father-in-law had.
That's a lie. That is a lie. Because I had, before I left, my mom, may I speak? I'm sorry. Before I had left, I'm used to them coming up. I've gotten out of the shower in the morning, she's sitting on the couch watching TV, eating her lunch.
Listen to me. There is no question in my mind that your father asked them to come over to talk to you about getting out. And if I called him and asked him, he would tell me that he did. Do we understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
I went in the back door. I went to his bedroom. I banged on the door and told him to get up and come out and talk to me. He started cussing the moment from his bedroom, coming out and started shoving me back down the hallway, telling me that I better get out of there, that I wasn't supposed to be there, and he was going to call the police. He went to the kitchen and picked up the phone and would dial the 911.
All right, you got angry and you pulled out the phone. I got it.
Okay. During all this, after he had gone back to his parents' bedroom, the same thing happened back there. He ran outside. I went and stood by the garage door and was watching him. At that time, I had no idea that Christy was there because to my idea, she had been told repeatedly she was not welcome there. John sneaks her into his bedroom at night after his parents have gone to sleep.
Sounds right.
Through his front window. They sleep all day while his parents are gone to work, having to work to pay his tickets, his lawyer fees. I have both of their criminal records here.
So you had no idea she was there?
I had no idea she was there. At that moment, she came out of his bedroom cussing and yelling at me that I better get the out of there, that she was going to kick my fat white. I started walking towards her and told her, no, you're the one that needs to get out of here. You've been told by the police and by my in-laws that you're not supposed to be here. That's when she sucker punched me on the left side of my face and fractured my nose and caused me to have to go have a surgical procedure done to straighten my nose.
Good. Stop. Now, you had come home after being gone for 3 weeks, according to your sister-in-law. You weren't with Christy, were you, when you were away?
I went and got her the next morning.
Oh, okay.
On the way to work. I went and got her because she was staying at a friend's house up the road. I brought her back.
I don't believe you! Do you understand me? You may get your mother to believe you. I don't believe you. I don't believe that bright and early in the morning you would already gotten out of bed to go and get her at a friend's house. I believe that she slept there all night.
She did not.
Your Honor, he came and got me at 7:30 in the morning because my car was broken down and I needed a ride to work.
Then what were you doing in his bedroom?
I was getting ready for work, Your Honor.
You just told me your car broke down. You needed a ride to work.
My car was in the shop, Your Honor, and that's why he came to pick me up from a friend's house, because I needed a ride to work, Your Honor.
I still don't understand why you're in his bedroom.
Because
you
I was
get ready
getting
to go to
ready.
work. You say, come and pick me up to go to work. He takes you to work. What are you doing in the bedroom?
He asked me to go back to his house so he could finish getting ready for work.
You're a liar. You're a liar. Make sure that you understand that what you say to me makes sense. You see, if it doesn't make sense, it's not true. Do you understand that, John?
Yes, ma'am.
Just because you can look like that to your mother, I want to tell you something. It doesn't cut anything with me. Your mother thinks of you as her baby. I do not. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. So your sister-in-law came and she banged on the door.
She gained entry through the garage for one.
I don't care how she gave.
Okay.
You don't belong there. Your father, who pays the bills, told you to leave.
Who also came home drunk the night before. And got
That's
into an
not your
argument with my
business.
mother.
That's not your business. Your business is to be out living on your own. Your business is not to be in the house creating problems between your parents. I believe that she got in as an invited guest of the owner of the house. That ain't you. So now she's in, banging at the door. I'm telling you to get out of bed and open the door.
Well, actually, she banged on the door, and I opened the door, and she grabbed me by my shirt here, pulled me out into the hall, started yelling at me, you need to get the F out, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, you know, took her hand off me. I was like, I'm calling the police. I went to the kitchen, picked up the phone, dialed 911. She pulled the phone out of the wall. I went to the computer line in our den, picked it up, dialed 911. She grabbed it and ripped it completely out of the wall. So I run back to my mom's room, pick up the phone, do the same thing, 911. She was back there right behind me on my heels, pulls it out the wall. We go back out into the living room. We're having a verbal confrontation. That's when Christy steps out of the room. She's like, Luann, you need to please leave. Luann
Just a
runs past
minute.
me.
Are you telling me that Miss Potty Mouth over here says you have to please leave? Is that what you're telling me? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, ma'am, because we're sitting here fighting in the
Good.
room.
Okay. So Prissy came out and said, Luann, you have to please leave. Just a minute. Please continue.
Okay,
Please
she was
continue.
like, you need to please leave. Luann ran past me back down the hall where Christy was standing and knocked her on the ground.
And I told her I was pregnant, Your Honor, before she assaulted me and knocked me down on my stomach when I'm
She
pregnant.
continued
I'm
lying.
5
She's
months
not lying.
pregnant.
We have proof of pregnancy right here.
I told her
Proof
that
of
I was
pregnancy,
pregnant,
that she
Your
was
Honor,
pregnant
and
at the time.
she pulled me down and started hitting me in my head, Your Honor, and pulling my hair, and I tried to get her off of me, Your Honor. She got off of me, and I went to the kitchen, and she knocked me into the karaoke cabinet, broke all of John's mom's things, and bit me. I have proof of pictures right here that she bit me and assaulted me, Your Honor.
Please continue.
She's been harassing me.
They've been harassing us for over a year.
She took this
He came to
picture.
take me to probation one morning, took this off our
He
kitchen
didn't take
counter.
you where?
To probation. I was on 6 months probation.
For what?
It was a
drugs, Your Honor.
possession of a dangerous
I
drug,
have
but
their
I've passed
criminal
every
record.
UA and I've done everything that I've...
Just answer my questions.
I'm sorry. Possession of dangerous drugs.
What kind of drugs?
It was...
Cocaine.
No, it was
and,
not cocaine.
dangerous drug.
I didn't speak to you.
I'm sorry.
What happened was back in I believe
What kind of drugs?
It was something for seizures that some friend had given me 4 months prior, and I had it in my wallet. But I do not do that. I've never done that.
Well, maybe.
Well, you see, Your Honor, they've taken the doorknob off my bedroom door so I can't lock my door. They're in my room, taking my possessions, like they took this picture,
and wrote on
scribbled
the back.
her face out,
And put it
wrote
in
a
my
threatening
mailbox,
note
Your
and put it in
Honor.
her mailbox.
Are you still pregnant, by the way?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
She's 5 months
how
pregnant.
wonderful. How wonderful. I'm sure your mother is absolutely delighted. Isn't that right?
Actually, Your Honor, I am. I'm very proud of her. She's done very well.
She has, really?
Yes, she
Can I
has
see
been
her
doing
arrest
very well.
record?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I see it, please?
She's been charged with
I didn't speak.
I'm sorry.
Excuse me, you
I
tried
didn't
to bomb
speak.
my building at work, lady?
These are the
Ma'am, she was
I just need
arrested
her
that day
arrest
for
record.
disrupting a 911 call.
No, ma'am, I was
didn't
not
speak
arrested.
to you. I didn't speak to anybody. I
She
said
went
I
to
want
court
to see
yesterday.
her arrest record. Do you have it or not?
Yes, ma'am. Here's the arrest record right here.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's it. I just want to see what Mom's proud of.
I'm proud of her that she's a changed person, Your Honor. She's done things wrong. She was young and stupid, and she knows that.
You mean
But at
getting-
least she's
you
not
mean-
42
you
and
mean,
still stupid.
You mean getting pregnant without being married and having no future and not
engaged,
having
Your
a
Honor.
job? Engaged is not married.
No, ma'am, I'm not proud of that.
Okay.
I do
Well, I
believe
just
in
asked
marriage.
you. Well, we have one prior assault. She pled guilty to a misdemeanor.
And she's been arrested for assault, too, Your Honor.
No, ma'am, I have not.
I didn't ask you anything. You see, when you speak out like this, the statement that old John here makes, that you came out into the living room and said, Luann, You better get out of here and stop that. You see why that is really hard for me to come to terms with? Who's Candace?
A young lady that me and a couple other girls got into a confrontation with, Your Honor. But what does that have to do with this case, Your Honor?
No, it has nothing to do with the case until your mother brought up the fact that she's real proud of you. I want to see what you've done to make her so proud. Then you had delivery of a controlled substance. What's that?
That's dismissed, Your Honor.
That was cocaine. Then we have January of 2003. You pled guilty to something, and your probation was revoked, and you were put in jail for 30 days.
No, ma'am, I was not. I had to do work release for 15 days.
What were you found guilty of?
Because I didn't complete my community service.
And that was for possession of marijuana?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, may I speak?
Were you there?
The day of incident?
Yes.
No, but I can tell you what she's done prior to.
And there's a picture.
And even since when
she's
she's
harassed me, Your Honor.
Listen to me. If she doesn't,
on a certified letter.
If she's not quiet, then we have to put her out.
I heard you.
Good.
Your Honor, may I say something?
No.
But they've been harassing us, too. We have proof they've been harassing us. She wrote you on the count.
Listen to me.
On the certified
Listen
letter
to
we
me.
sent to file the counterclaim.
Listen to me.
This is bull. It is.
John, get a life of your own.
I wish they would. They take my doorknob off my door. They go through my personal possessions. What right do they have?
Not his door.
Just a sec. What?
It's my parents' door. It's not his door.
Just a second.
But what right do you have to take my doorknob to your house, then Mom has to go get it 2 months later? What right do you have, Joseph?
John, if you live on your own and take care of yourself, then you have rights. Do you want to know what I would tell my children if they lived in my house? I own the air you breathe. You have no rights in my house. You don't have the right even to be here if you're over 18. You live here and you stay here at my will. You work, you're a big enough man to have made a baby, then be a big enough man to live on your own, to take care of your responsibilities, to support your responsibilities, and not to be a drain on your family.
I'm not a drain. I buy my own food. I buy my own food at my parents' house. I don't eat their food, I swear. All I do is stay there.
Stand up, sir. I understand that you have a problem. If he's still staying at your parents' house, you probably still have a problem. Mother probably feels a little guilty. Father says, I can't take him anymore. I can't look at him. I can't take him. I could understand that. Because he thinks because he buys his own food, then he's supporting himself. He's not supporting him. I'm speaking. That. He's not supporting himself because when you support yourself, you pay rent, you pay gas, electric, cable. You buy your own food, you have your own health insurance, you don't make a baby until you can afford it. You certainly don't make a baby while you're living in your parents' house. But I'm going to suggest to you that your peace depends upon you staying out of it. Your parents are not old and senile. They're probably young-ish.
I'm 60.
That's young, sweetheart. That's young. They can take care of themselves. Butt out. If they get fed up enough, they're going to put them both out. And it's not up to you anymore. Plaintiff is suing for $1,500 for her injury and for pain and suffering. She's entitled to that judgment for the plaintiff. Your counterclaim's dismissed. That's all.
Yeah, this is case number 130 on the calendar in the matter of Berry versus Garrett. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
All right, reading your complaint, Miss Berry, is like reading one of those little mini novels. Let me see if I can explain to my friend Bird over here what I think happened. You and Mr. Garrett were involved as boyfriend and girlfriend for a period of time. Then you broke up. After you broke up, you continued to have some contact with him. So far, am I correct?
Yes.
Where were you living?
In Las Vegas.
And where was he living?
Studio City, California.
And while you were dating, you would go to him for a weekend, he would come to you for a weekend, but after you broke up, on Valentine's Day, you decided to go to visit him.
Correct.
Did you call him first?
Yes.
What did you say to him when you said, oh, it's Valentine's Day, I want to come and see you?
It wasn't so much of an issue as it being Valentine's Day. It was just the weekend, and I called him and told him I was on my way out there.
And what did he say?
At first, we were not getting along very well, so at first he was kind of like, no. But then as the week went on, he was like, go ahead and come out here. And then I called him and told him my friend was going to come with us, and that's when he was like, no, she doesn't need to come. But, you know, I told her that's fine. You know, she can come. And
just a second. So first he said, don't come. And then you called again, and you schmoozed him again, and he said, finally said, Okay, you can come.
Right.
And then you said, I'm on my way, I'm coming with a girlfriend. Right?
Yes, yeah.
And he was annoyed.
Right.
So you get to his house, and there's a bit of a disagreement, because according to his answer, you were on the phone when he came home from work or something, and you were on the phone with a fella, right?
Right.
And he was annoyed. You were annoyed.
Correct.
Because you felt as if she was sort of using you.
Correct.
He didn't write that in here, but I sort of pieced that together.
Okay.
This is all leading up to what this lawsuit is about, but you understand, Bird, that I'm just getting you there.
So far, I'm following you.
So far, you're following. So, they're not really in a relationship, but sometimes maybe. She gives him a tease. She says, I want to come out. He said, no, yeah, please, let me come out. Okay, I'm on my way, and I'm with my friend. What's her name?
Argina.
Argina. Who's Argina? What do I need an Argina here for on Valentine's Day weekend, right? You and I are going to cozy up on Valentine's Day. Who needs Argina? Comes with Argina. He's really annoyed. He leaves, comes home. Not only does he come home, he finds her on the telephone talking, schmoozing it up with a guy. He is really annoyed. And you broke her
cell phone.
Right. So that's item numero uno.
Right.
Broken cell phone. How much is the cell phone?
I had insurance on it, so it was only $35. I had to pay this Sprint $35 insurance.
Great. $35 on the plaintiff's side. Then, after he broke the cell phone, the two of you got into sort of a shouting match, and you and your friend, Argina, took off. According to your complaint, you took off, and you also took the house keys.
Right.
You say that he went and followed you and was chasing you all over the place.
He was.
Backed into your car, causing damage to your car, and you want him to pay for the damage that he caused to your car. That's what your lawsuit is. Cell phone, damage to your car. Mr. Garrett says that after you had this argument and he was so furious that he broke your cell phone and you took off, it was very late at night, right?
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock in the morning. Mr. Garrett says after you left, he got hungry. Right, Mr. Garrett?
Yep.
So you went out in search of food. You were foraging for food.
Well, it was around 11 o'clock. Everything happened at 1, but yeah, around 11 o'clock. I just got home, remember. Go ahead.
And serendipitously, you found her.
Yep.
Pick it up from there, Mr. Garrett.
All right. I can pick it up from there, although some of the things that were said weren't totally true, but I'll pick it up from there. Okay, so I'm driving down the street. I see her crossing the intersection. I'm looking at her. I want my keys. She's not giving me my keys.
She's crossing the intersection. She's in her car, you're in yours. How do you convey to her, Mr. Garrett, that you want your keys?
I just looked at her, and she looked at me, and she laughed and peeled out.
So that's how you conveyed to her that you want my keys.
Well, I think she knows I want my keys.
Shh, don't tell me what you think she knows.
Okay.
So you conveyed nothing to her. So she's peeling out, and what did you do?
Followed her.
You chased her.
Yes. Well, in the beginning, I followed her because it seemed to me that she was going to my house because the street that she turned off of was heading back to my house. So,
so at the beginning you were following. When did it turn into a chase, Mr. Garrett?
When she didn't turn on my street.
And then what happened? So then you knew she wasn't coming back to your house.
When she didn't turn on my street and got to the light, I stopped at my street. She went all the way to the end and quickly hit the corner. So I sped up to the corner and I saw her at the other corner. And
why?
Because she had my only set of keys to my other car and my house.
So you're chasing her at this point, instead of going back to your house and calling 911 and or going to the local precinct and saying, listen, this woman took my keys. She has my only set of keys with her. I know she's going to be back because she's got stuff in my house, and I don't want to be there to be any problem.
She didn't have any. She took all her things with her, so I figured she was gone. And when I noticed that my keys were gone, I left the house.
I didn't take all my stuff with me because we went back the next day.
So you were chasing her, and you were both traveling pretty quickly. And then what happened, Mr. Garrett?
Well, when the chase ended, I got out the car. I told her to give me my keys. She said, no, I'm not going to give you your keys. I'll go to your house. Let's just go to your house because you're not going to let me in type thing. So we proceeded to go to my house. Once again, she did not turn on my street. She headed for the freeway. She headed for the freeway. So I sped up in front of her and stopped at the freeway entrance. I wasn't going to get on the freeway. I just stopped there. She backed up, and where she backed up is at a park. She backed up, I backed up.
And that's how you both dented your cars?
I believe.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's how you both dented your cars?
Well, that's how he backed into my car, and so I turned to try to get away from him. He backed up again, and that's how...
What were you doing with his keys?
We took them so we could get back in.
You took them?
Yeah, I took them.
He didn't give them to you. You took them.
No. He was in the room with the door locked with all the house phones and everything. He
I don't care.
locked them in the room, so
I don't care.
we
It's
left.
my house. Shh. You stole his keys.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Doesn't have a lot of friends.
I don't need a lot of friends.
Just checking your, your directory. You only know 4 people.
Yeah, I know.
And later today...
You also play a werewolf?
Correct.
You weren't going to see a performance of Snow White.
No, Your Honor.
You were going to the haunted house because you wanted to be...
Scared.
And you were...
Scared.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Natasha Berry says ex-boyfriend Patrick Garrick broke her cell phone and rammed her car in a fit of rage. Patrick says Natasha took advantage of him.
So, did you also key his car?
No, I did not do that.
You say that you keyed your car. What proof do you have that, other than this damage, these 2 smashed cars that I now have, which comes to me, as far as I'm concerned, under the category of both of you deserved it. You stole his keys. You wanted to get him back. You both acted inappropriately. You could have just as easily have gone to the police station and say, I have this nut following me. I want to give him back his keys. I don't want him to follow me anymore, and I just want to go get my stuff. Instead, you were playing with each other. So the only thing you're lucky about is that nobody else got hurt with regard to your antics. So you can both pretty much fix your own cars. Now, you want to show me, prove to me
I
that she
agree.
keyed your car?
Well, the car wasn't keyed before she came to my house. And after this incident happened, the car's keyed. That's the only proof I have besides showing you pictures of the keyed car.
Can I see the pictures, just my own information?
Well, I have it in my phone. Is that?
I don't care where it is. I don't care if it's your phone and your ear. I don't care where it is. Just let me see the picture of the keyed car.
You can just thumb through it, but that's one scratch.
Press that button and that advances it.
Doesn't have a lot of friends.
I don't need a lot of friends.
Just checking your, your directory. You only know 4 people.
Yeah, I know.
Mr. Garrett.
Yes, ma'am.
Listen to me, sir. In all likelihood, Miss Berry did, in fact, key your car. Unfortunately, the fact that she may have had a motive to do that and an opportunity to do it isn't enough in a court. Now, I have to think about what to do to the 2 of you who could have killed somebody, and you're driving around that February 14th weekend because you were both acting foolish. I wish there was something I could do to you and for you. There isn't, unfortunately. The only thing I can do to you is say, you will fix your own car because you acted like a fool, and you will fix your own car because you acted like a fool. Does that sound fair?
That's what I said.
Perfect. Goodbye. Oh, and $35 for her. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She wasn't my girlfriend. I didn't invite her down. She just showed up at the crib, so...
He didn't want us to leave. He didn't want me to leave. He didn't want me bringing someone else with me.
Wasn't working, and I believe she just was jealous.
Jealousy on his part, maybe.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Glossinger versus Elliott. Step forward.
Credit Union President Patrick Glossinger is suing 21-year-old mold maker Ryan Elliott for punching him in the face. Patrick says he was playing a werewolf at a haunted house when it happened.
Mr. Glossinger, it is your claim that the defendant assaulted you.
Yes, it is, ma'am.
He says he did not.
No, Your Honor.
So you tell me, Mr. Glossinger, where and when did this happen, because you want your medical bills paid?
I'm a volunteer for the Niles Haunted House in Niles, Michigan.
What do you do as a volunteer?
During the season, September and October, I'm a werewolf in the cemetery swamp area. Plus, I'm also on the security staff.
So you volunteer, and aside from being security, sometimes you also play a werewolf?
Correct.
All right. So now tell me, I gather from your complaint this happened while you were playing the werewolf.
Yes, ma'am.
Go. Let's hear it.
Okay. It was 11 o'clock at night, September 29th, and as I play the werewolf, I stand still sort of like a robot, and as the groups come through, I'll slowly move as a robot, and then I'll lurch. We rebuilt the set so people wouldn't hit me because I've been hit 2 or 3 times every year, kicked, punched, spit on, and I want to prevent that. So I erected a metal fence, and then I would stand back about 4 feet, hoping nobody would hit me. Well, as this group came through after I made my action as a werewolf, the defendant hit me squarely upside the head. It was a very vicious hit. I've been hit before, and I know this one was vicious, so I chased him down. And we normally have the assailant removed from the park. This time I wanted to press charges.
So you've been hit numerous times before.
Yes, there's quite a few more.
Could you find some other way to volunteer, Mr. Glossinger?
Well, it's fun.
Why don't you switch off with other people?
Nobody can do it as well as I do. Are you volunteering?
Mr. Glossinger? I remember being a volunteer candy striper in my time. I was a volunteer collecting money for various organizations in my youth, but I would never volunteer at a job where part of the job description involves my being assaulted on a regular basis. Mr. Glossinger, there must be something in your personality that gives you leave of your senses periodically to continue to volunteer for this job. So we're not going to play tit for tat.
Right.
Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Good. Now, let me see your medical bills as a result of this assault.
Oh.
I assume when you've been assaulted previously, Mr. Glossinger, it's because you've scared people sufficiently so that they react.
Not necessarily, Your Honor. Some people are just plain morons or jerks, and they want to hit all the props.
Depends upon who's the moron and who's the jerk. If you get hit once or twice, it would say to me that you find another place to volunteer, or put yourself in a position where you can't get hit again. Because when people get frightened, they...
Or they're just plain morons.
No, but you don't know that. It's usually just a reaction.
Occasionally.
Except, Mr. Elliott, you weren't going to see a performance of Snow White.
No, Your Honor.
You were going to the haunted house because you wanted to be...
Scared.
And you were...
Scared.
By Mr.
Glossinger.
So what'd you hit him for?
I didn't hit him, Your Honor.
What did you do to him?
I pushed him off of me out of reaction.
Pushed him? Where did you push him?
I don't know. It was kind of dark.
That's not true,
It
Your
was
Honor.
just out of reaction.
He didn't push me. He hit me very viciously. And then when he ran off, he was saying, well, hit me back and make it even.
You hit him. You'd been drinking a little bit that evening, Mr. Elliott.
Yes, Your Honor. I had one drink.
That's not what he said at that evening. He said we spiked his Coke up at the concession stand.
No, at first he said he hadn't been drinking at all. So he's not even consistent in his lie. The first thing he told the interviewer was he hadn't been drinking at all. Is that right? Then you changed your story and said that you had something. Is that right, sir?
That I had a drink.
All right. 0.087 alcohol level. Did you know that?
No, Your Honor.
Now, you were arrested
No, Your Honor.
for assault and battery.
Your Honor, they wrote me out a ticket.
Oh,
and
so
I
it was
went
a
home.
ticket.
Yes.
And what did you do when you got the ticket, sir? You had to go to court?
Yes.
And did you plead guilty?
To public disturbance, Your Honor.
What was the nature of your public disturbance, Mr. Elliott, that you pled guilty to?
For pushing Mr. Glossinger.
Well, can I see your medical bills, Mr. Glossinger?
They're up there. You
I have them? Perfect.
And then there are photos in there of the injury the next morning. And in the police report, they noted the bruising and swelling that evening.
And this was a really good push.
Your Honor, he jumped out and made contact with me, and out of reaction.
That's not true, Your Honor.
I don't believe that's
We have
true.
a policy of no
I don't
touching.
believe that's true, sir. I don't believe he made contact with you.
Your Honor, I have a witness that's seen it.
Sure. Name?
Sarah Elliott.
How are you related to him?
This is my brother.
Okay. You were there that evening?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Were you drinking too?
No, I wasn't.
Was he drinking?
He had one beer, yes.
That's not
Or
true.
If he had more than that, I didn't see it.
Where did you see him have the one beer?
Before we left,
You're making things up as you're going along,
No,
Miss Elliott.
before I-
Listen to me. How old are you?
I'm 20.
You have a lot more years to go before you're as smart as Bird. Do you understand? Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
So you start making things up as you go, I will eat you up for breakfast. Do we understand each other? In any event, You're going to tell me that Mr. Glossinger assaulted your brother, made contact with him first. Is that right?
Yes, when he had jumped out, maybe it could have been an accident, but there was a notice that there was a physical contact.
Thank you very much. You may have a seat.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe her. I don't believe you, and I don't believe her. That doesn't mean that I think that you did anything that was really terrible. You may have pushed him, you reacted to what happened, but you knew you were going in there to be scared, and you were.
Yes, Your Honor, but I didn't think that it was right for anybody to make contact with me.
He didn't. I don't believe you. I think you had too much to drink. No question, because there was otherwise there would have been no reason for you to run.
Your Honor, Mr. Glossinger got up and made threatening gestures towards me and told me he was literally going to beat my...
That's not true.
And so I ran from him.
And where did your sister go?
They were left back there.
And what about you? What do you mean left back there? You mean somebody was holding them?
I ran and he ran after me.
How come they didn't come to your assistance?
Because I was gone. I ran.
You ran into the woods. You were afraid.
All right. I have a bill here that looks like $370. Is that what it is?
There's $313 in deductible expenses.
Okay. Is that what you paid out of pocket, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $313.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Don't drink and go to a haunted house, Mr. Elliott. Sometimes you have lapses of judgment when you do that. That's all.
Parties are excused. The answer is case number 211 on the calendar in the matter of Hunter versus Franklin. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Thanks, Bert.
Folks have seats. You're welcome, Judge.
Is the boyfriend here? Which one is the boyfriend?
One in the burgundy shirt.
Officer Byrd. He looks like a nice enough gentleman.
Yeah.
Does he look as if he's special enough to start a war over?
I'm not a real good judge on guys. What do you think?
I wouldn't start a war over any of them.
There you go.
Oh. Aren't you humiliated? Before we even start, are you a nice girl?
Very.
And you?
Yes,
Think you're a nice girl?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you work?
Yes, I do.
That was a big pause there. What does that mean, a big pause?
I work 25 miles away from home, and I go.
What do you do?
I'm a phlebotomist.
Okay, which means you take
blood.
And you work for a laboratory?
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you been working for the laboratory?
A year and a half.
And what do you do for a living, Miss Franklin?
I work at AT&T Wireless.
How long have you been working for AT&T?
A year and a half.
Smart. Both in this terrible economy, both have good jobs, beautiful looking. What does he do?
Nothing.
Oh.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just
a second. Just asking.
She wouldn't know.
Just a second. I just want to know.
Yeah.
She said nothing. What does he do?
He's an administrative assistant.
And how many days a week does he work?
Can I interrupt, please? Right now.
No, I'm going to get an answer.
Okay.
I'm going to get an answer. Come on.
Actually, I'm going to take that back. She got him fired.
Thank you.
So the answer is he's not working.
He's not. He's searching. He's searching really hard.
What I'm saying is he may not be a bad guy, but you are two nice, clearly responsible, hardworking, diligent young women who you claim she keyed your car over Prince Charming. She says you slashed her tires over Prince Charming.
Prince Charming cannot pay my bills.
Just a second. Don't jump up and down.
Sorry.
Stay still. You're making me seasick.
I'm sorry.
Miss Hunter.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me when Miss Franklin keyed your car.
It was the weekend of Memorial Day.
And how do you know that she keyed your car?
I got 2 witnesses here that saw her do it. Firstly, I just want to set up the situation. She came ringing the doorbell at 4 o'clock in the morning. It's not the first time.
He used to be your boyfriend?
Yes, used to be.
I broke up with him in May. He proposed to me in May. I told him no.
Okay. So she came to your house in the morning and?
And she kept ringing the doorbell. This is according to my witness, because we were both asleep naturally, like any normal person should be asleep at 4 o'clock in the morning. Brian Matlock, he assumed that it was me because when my witness and I came in, he was on the couch sleeping.
You all live together?
No. I actually have a friend, Justin, who rents out a room to Kevin here. I've only known these people for about 8 months. And what happened was I was sleeping on the couch, and I was rudely woken to a doorbell ringing about 30 times. I looked out the people and mistaked it for Shauna and let her in, and I believed it was Shauna at the time, and I just went and laid down because she walked right to Kevin's room.
And it was this young lady?
This young lady.
Now,
And
what were you doing there 5 o'clock in the morning? Shh! What were you doing there 5 o'clock in the morning?
I was not there at 5 o'clock.
You think he's lying?
I don't even know this guy, to be
I
honest.
don't know her, but I knew her after all the lights came on.
I've never seen him. Never seen this guy. He does not live at that residence.
He didn't say he was living. He was sleeping on the couch.
I've never seen him there.
Okay, go ahead. So you let her in, and what happened?
I let her in, and it escalated into an argument which carried out to the driveway. I, at that point, followed to make sure there was no fighting or anything at that point. I asked her to leave and told her that I was going to call the police. She told me, mind your own business, white boy, and keyed up the side of her vehicle.
And you saw that?
I watched every bit of it.
And you say that never happened?
That never happened.
Okay, good. Now, this happened the early morning of May 24th, according to your complaint.
Yes, ma'am.
Then you say, after work on May 24th, something happened with your car, right? Let me hear what happened with your car.
Kevin came to my house. He called me on May 24th and asked
Kevin,
me,
that's him.
Yeah, that's him. He asked me to marry him. Let's go to Reno. I came up with some lame excuses. I told Kevin I was sick, I was tired, and my hair was not done. We got into a little argument. No, it sounds funny, but I did. The second time we were supposed to get married, we were on our way to Reno, got halfway there,
I don't
and
care about the second
broke
time.
up. Well, anyways, the 24th, when he came over to my house, we got into a little argument because I did not want to get married to him. He left, called me 2:20 in the morning. He said he was downtown at a jazz festival. Can he come over? I told him no. I was already in bed, asleep. That afternoon, I went to work at 2 o'clock. Got an email sent out to the whole call center and asked at 4 o'clock, is there anyone that drive a white Honda Accord? And I responded to that email. They said because there's somebody outside in the parking lot slashing your tires.
Don't, you're banging on the table. It's irritating.
Somebody's in the parking lot slashing at your tires.
Do you have any witnesses who saw her do it?
I do have a witness. Chrissy Sims is the witness.
Okay.
I also have
Step up.
Police report for another witness, but she couldn't make it. She had surgery.
Would you get the police report? I want to take a look at it. Sure. Chrissy, you have a last name?
Sims.
Who do you work for?
I work for AT&T Wireless also.
Did you witness Miss Hunter slashing Miss Franklin's tires?
Yes, Your Honor, I did.
And when was that?
It was on May 25th. It was around 3:30, 4 o'clock, because that's when I normally take my lunch break, and I was in our lunchroom. And I was just looking outside, and I saw a car parked behind her car, like slanted. And then I saw her get out the car, and you could tell she was up to something because of the way she was parked. So I saw her get out the car and go over to her tires and just kneel down and slash. She kept moving her arm back and forth.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Why did you miss 2 days of work?
I just didn't have the money to get my tires fixed. I didn't have any transportation. The only transportation I had was to go
Take
get
the
my
bus and leave the driving to us.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Shauna Hunter says her boyfriend's ex-girlfriend, Javon Franklin, keyed her car. Javon says Shauna slashed her tires.
Okay, I'm ready.
Your Honor, I'll tell you, I don't need a witness here. I slashed her tires. I'm willing to pay for her tires because I was enraged the next morning to find my brand new car.
Perfect.
Scratched. And you know, on top of that, come to find out that this gentleman bought her tires. There was only one security guard outside. He came and chased me. That's when I hopped in my car and I ran off.
Just a second. How much were the tires?
The tires are $300.
Well, let me have an estimate.
I didn't even bring that, to be honest. I left that at home.
Well, where did you think you were coming today? I need an estimate for tires. She has a check here for $50.
Who paid for that and where?
Well, I don't know.
Kevin bought them for $25 each. Oh.
Is that right?
That's correct.
She has 15-inch rims on her tires. I looked down, they were bald.
It doesn't make any difference. I have here $975 is what you're suing for. Damages to the car, towing expenses, lost wages, and harassment.
Correct.
Okay. And how many tires were slashed?
It was 2.
Bird, I know nothing about tires. I know that they make the world go round. Can you get a tire for $100?
Can you buy one tire for $100? Yeah, you can buy one tire for $100.
Is that a good tire?
That's a real good tire.
What's an average price tire for a Honda Accord?
And they're 17-inch.
Maybe $75 a piece.
All right. Now, how much did you pay for the towing of your car?
The towing was only $65.
And what kind of lost wages are you talking about?
2 days of work missed.
Why did you miss 2 days of work?
I just didn't have the money to get my tires fixed. When I got it towed, I had it towed to my house. I didn't have any transportation, so
right.
The only transportation I had was to go
Take
get
the
my
bus and leave the driving to us. Okay, now, I want to see pictures of the scratches to your car.
By the way, she scratched it 2 times on 2 separate occasions.
You have an estimate on painting it?
Yes, ma'am.
There isn't much of a question in my mind that Miss Franklin keyed your car. She
did not
certainly acknowledged the fact that she slashed your tires because she was angry.
Your Honor, I did not key her car.
Yeah.
I would like to take a lie detective test, if that's possible.
Okay. Anyway, that's my finding, and I think that you two ladies should just cool it.
I agree. Totally.
And it's going to cost you some money to fix your car, and I'm going to do a set-off because I have a claim and I have a counterclaim, and after I did all the math, although you have a claim for some $1,100 for the painting of your car, you're going to get $785 because I have deducted what I believe is the cost of the tires and the towing. Judgment for the plaintiff, the amount of $785. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She's more than welcome to have him. She's actually doing me a favor.
As soon as she moves on with herself, the better off she'll be.
He said, I hurt his heart for the last time, and I will pay for this.
We were doing just fine until she came back around, just causing trouble, knocking on the door at 3 o'clock in the morning when nobody wants her there.
This is my payback. It's cute.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Scott versus Butler. Step forward, please.
22-year-old homemaker Shalisha Scott is suing her ex-boyfriend, 26-year-old cook Jermaine Butler, for claiming her children on his tax return. Jermaine is countersuing for car damage, stolen clothes, and an assault.
Miss Scott, you and Mr. Butler live together, according to what I've read. You have a child?
Yes,
How
not
old-
together.
Not together. How old is your child?
My daughter is 22 months old.
Do you also have a niece that's living with you?
Well, she was in my care previously in 2002.
How old is she?
She's 4 years old.
Why was she in your care?
Just temporarily, just to take care of her.
I asked you a direct question. You have a niece. Is this your sister's child?
Yes.
Was your sister not in a position to take care of her?
No, she just needed some assistance and I helped her.
Does your sister have any other children?
Yes.
How old are her other children?
She has a 10-year-old, an 8-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 3-month-old.
Was this the only child that was out of her custody? Were they all out of her custody?
No, they wasn't out of her custody at all. I just took care of her.
Miss Scott, according to your complaint, you lived with him, stopped living together. When he left, he took a computer and he took a car.
Yes.
You want the computer back and you want the car back.
Yes.
Those items, you say, were purchased with money that he received from his tax returns. You say he received that money from his tax returns because you allowed him to take your daughter and your niece as dependents on his tax returns. That's why I ask you these questions.
Oh.
So, do you understand?
Yes.
That's what you said in your complaint, that the only reason that these items were yours because you were taking care of a 22-month-old and a 4-year-old that year.
Yes.
So I assume you were not working.
No.
Is that right?
No, I wasn't working.
Right. So somebody was supporting you, your 22-month-old, and the 4-year-old. He says it was him because he was working.
When we got together, Jermaine didn't even have a job until...
I'm talking about the year we're talking about with his tax returns. He had to have had a job because he paid taxes and he got money back.
Me and him didn't get together till the end of 2002. So he didn't take care of my niece at all.
How long did you live together?
We lived together for about 7 months.
Who supported your 4-year-old niece?
I did during this time.
From what?
From about March to about August of 2002.
From what money?
Oh, just welfare, just taking care of her, period. Just having her there all the time, basically.
How did you support yourself before him?
I was on welfare, basically.
And your 22-month-old was on welfare?
Yes.
And the 4-year-old?
She was on her mother's welfare, yes.
Did you claim these 2 children on your tax returns?
Yes, I did.
Is that wrong?
Yes.
Of course it was wrong because we, as taxpayers, were paying for these children. And how much money did you get back as a result of claiming them on your tax returns?
Approximately $3,000.
$3,000 back. Now, but for these children, would you have gotten any money back?
Yes.
How much?
Maybe less than $1,000.
So let's say you got $2,000 back as a result of fraudulently claiming these two children on your tax returns. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And it's your claim, Miss Scott, that you should be entitled to what you bought with this $2,000, because if it wasn't for you giving him the right to take your daughter and your niece off on your tax returns, he wouldn't have gotten this money back.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Because you didn't work during that time. The only money that you had was provided to you by the state.
Well, actually, in the beginning of 2002, I had a job. I worked.
Well, tell me about your job.
Yes, I was a dental, not a dental assistant. I worked at Wienerson School as a manager.
Okay. How long have you been on welfare?
I've been on welfare since September 2001.
And what year tax returns are we talking about?
2002's taxes.
Fine. Then let's not quibble. The state was supporting you and your daughter. That's the money we're talking about. The state was supporting you, and you had no right to let him claim your 22-month-old or your 4-year-old on his tax returns because the state was providing you with money.
Well,
so what you want me to
ID.
do is, well, he was wrong, 100% wrong. I hope the IRS watches it and comes back and says, you owe us this money because you're not entitled to take them as dependents. They're not your dependents. You are also not entitled to any part of $2,000.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying that was our agreement we came up with to make extra money. And
you came up with a scheme. You came up with a scheme with him. It was an interesting scheme. I'll give you the law very quickly, Miss Scott. The law says that in order to come into court and ask the court to help you, you have to come in with clean hands. If you come in with dirty hands, which means that you had put your hand down, which means that you haven't done the right thing, you don't get the court's help.
Yes.
Do you understand?
Yes.
Right. You and he came up with a scheme, and the scheme was to get money back from the government that you didn't deserve, because the government was supporting you, your daughter, and your niece, and as a result of your scheme with him, he got back an extra $2,000. And then you were going to split the proceeds. That's the agreement that you made with him. And your complaint is that he reneged on the agreement because with that money he bought a car, and he bought a computer, and when he left, he took everything back with him.
No, we were in a relationship. So everything that was bought, we bought together. Jermaine was homeless before I met him, so I brought him in thinking that he was going to be an idle husband or a future husband because we were talking about getting married and everything. And I thought that we were going to build on something, but he decided after I became pregnant, everything started getting bad. And he decided to leave.
Your whole story. Listen to me carefully.
I'm just saying.
Listen to me carefully. You're not his wife. You are legally nothing to him. Who are you?
I'm her brother.
I don't want to hear from you. Let me think that at least one member of your family was not absent when they gave out the noodle department, okay? Do you understand? She doesn't get it. Your case is dismissed. You have absolutely no cause of action. You did the wrong thing by permitting him to take two people as dependents who were not his dependents. He did the wrong thing. I'm speaking. He did the wrong thing. He ended up with a computer and, according to you, a car that he bought.
For me. That was my
That he bought partially from tax return refunds that he shouldn't have gotten, and the IRS may come back and get him. I don't know that. I know certainly you're not getting any money from him because you did the wrong thing. Goodbye, good luck, have a happy life, take your brother with you. I don't want to hear him, I don't want to look at him, I want him out of here.
Hold on for a second. Who keeps helping me?
Whoever keeps helping you, throw them out.
That's what I was going to do. Hold on.
Perfect, just pick the right person.
Your Honor, this is case number 207 on the calendar in the matter of Reese versus Pena. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Mr. Reese, you're suing the defendant because you claim she had you falsely arrested.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you know Miss Pena before you rented a room in her house?
Yes, I was living with a friend, and they live in the same gated community. And the friend I was living with was about to go on tour for 2 months, so I needed a spot to stay until I found another spot. She offered her room, for rent, you know, for a month or
Okay,
less.
so you knew her from
The friend, yeah.
a friend, and you had socialized, you had...
Yeah.
According to your complaint, she agreed to rent you a room in her house.
Right.
And that was sort of in, I think it was in mid-May that she
Yes.
agreed to do that. And you paid her rent, $375?
Right.
Did he pay you any rent?
Yes, he paid me $360.
$360. Oh, so I was off.
All right, my bad.
And then she went away for a while on a weekend or something, and lo and behold, her parents come home.
Right.
And find you sleeping in their bed,
Well,
like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. And they said, in effect, who the hell are you? And what are you doing here? And you explained to them that you had rented a
room
from their
daughter.
And they said, we don't like that.
Right.
So at that point, Miss Pena, then she comes back, and she said she had a fight with her parents. You did have a fight with your parents.
No.
Your parents wanted him out. Fair statement?
Yes.
And you said, I'm paid up until the end of the month. I'm not leaving.
Correct.
One thing led to another, and Miss Pena asked you to leave. According to your answer, Miss Pena, you said to him, look, you have to go, and I'll give you back your money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I don't want my money back. I need a place to stay till the end of the month. You said, I'll even give you money to go and stay in a hotel, right?
Yes.
And he said, I'm not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes, that's true.
And then you started arguing.
Mm-hmm.
You argued for a few days.
3 days.
What were you arguing about?
Okay, Tuesday, that's the day I came into town, and my parents told me what had happened, what they spoke of, and that's when I confronted him about exactly what had happened. I asked for his side of the story after my parents had told me. So at that point, he told me that I was lying about what my parents had told me, which was that he had paid $575. And at this point, they were very displeased at what had happened because he had lied to them in their face.
No, they were displeased that you rented him a room.
No, that's not how it was.
I want to know what you were arguing with him about.
We were arguing because he denied that my parents said that he was going to pay $360, which is what I had told them.
He had already paid $360.
Exactly, but he had told them that he was paying $575, so that's why I confronted him.
Excuse me?
Monthly.
Monthly. And he had given you $360, but that was just for 2 weeks, madam.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, get with the drill with your math. He paid you for 2 weeks, $360.
Yes.
So is that what you were arguing about?
Yes.
For 3 days? What prompted you to
No,
go to the...
no, we
I'm
weren't.
speaking. Then you said you were arguing nonstop for 3 days. So that's... Now you've told me what you were arguing about. And since you were arguing and he wouldn't leave, you went to the police.
He threatened me on the 3rd day of our argument. So
How
I
did he
filed a
threaten you?
complaint. He told me, while we were arguing in the morning, a friend happened to call me on the phone, and he heard the way that...
What were you arguing about?
We were arguing about the same situation we had been arguing for the past 3 days.
Why didn't you just leave him alone and let him work out his contract, because he'd already paid till the end of May, and let him leave?
Because my parents wanted him out of the house because he had lied to them. So that's why I offered him money so he could leave early, because we...
He didn't want to leave early.
Okay. And
That
he
I'm
began
asking you why you went to the police. Now
He
you
had
were going to
threatened
tell
me.
me that.
He threatened me.
How
and
did he
told
threaten you?
me
What did he say?
that because after I had spoken to my friend on the phone, he told me that if I had anybody try to get him out of the house, that he would take care of me or he would handle that situation with me. And I had never said I was going to do anything of the sort. I was trying to get him to leave civilly. But that's why we were arguing, because I couldn't do that. So he said that if he, if I try to have anybody escort him out of the house, that he would handle that situation. So I went and filed a complaint.
Why?
Why? Because I felt threatened. He was being very hostile.
Go ahead. So you went to the police and you filed a complaint.
Very
I want to see a
condescending.
copy of the complaint that you filed. First one. You filed 2 complaints, is that right?
No, just one.
Oh, really? I read your answer, and it says that you filed 2 complaints.
No, I never said that.
Oh. You say in your answer, madam, that you were arguing for 3 days, so I decided to go to the police and file a complaint. Later that day, we argued again. This time, he threatened me by saying that he had a gun. I called the police, and they came and arrested him.
Yes.
So when you went to the police the first time and you told him this baloney story, they did not come and arrest him. Is that right?
No, all I did was file a complaint against him. I went to the police department.
Okay, fine. And then what happened? Fine. You filed a complaint.
The following...
What's next?
The same evening,
yeah,
he came home, and we started arguing again, and the argument escalated.
What, just a second. He came home, and
I
pay attention to me. I'm much smarter than you are. I got it. He came home, walked in the front door. Where were you?
Sitting on the couch.
What did you say to him or he say to you?
I asked him if he would decide to leave early.
So you started with him and you said, I want you to leave. He already told you he's not leaving. And he said what?
He said that he wasn't going to leave, began degrading me and insulting me again. At that point, he told me if I had anybody come and try to escort him out of the house or advise him to leave, that he had a gun upstairs in his room and that he would use it if it was necessary.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Your story was totally different, by the way, in your complaint than what you just testified to, because you're so stupid you can't even get your facts straight.
And later today,
I had been putting money into their account because I was filing for divorce from Mr. Minks, and I was trying to hide the money from him, so...
Babe, you can't do that!
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Chris Reese says ex-roommate Belinda Pena had him falsely arrested. Belinda says when she asked Chris to leave, he threatened her with violence.
Yes.
Now, at that time, they're saying that I said I had a gun. They had already taken all her and her friends. I took all my stuff out the room and they wrapped it up in a blanket with my TV, DVD player, clothes, and put at the end of the stairs, tied in a knot. So when I was driving home in a U-Haul, because I was going to pick up a bed to put in my new spot for the next month, I was driving home in U-Haul. I got a call from one of her boyfriends talking about, you know, he's from Compton.
Just a second. So are you telling me that when you were coming home that evening, when you came in on the evening that she's talking about, she and her friends had already cleared out your room?
Downstairs on the bottom, tied up in a knot with TV, DVD, clothes, CDs, everything, iron.
Yeah.
And I walked in, there was 4 guys there, and I asked which one of you guys called me on my cell phone. They was like, it's not us. She said it was somebody else. I got upset.
So there were 4 people there,
Already.
herself and how many of her friends?
4 people and her.
And her were there.
They're
Now, is
already.
that the time that you called the police?
Oh, I didn't call the police.
She called the police?
Oh, yes, yes.
Is that when you called the police?
Yes, after.
And you had 3 friends at
Which
the
had
house.
nothing to do with it.
I'm speaking and I asked you a question. You had 3 friends there, is that correct?
They happened to stop by, yes.
Well, I want to tell you something. I'm trying to hold my fury because not only did you manipulate the justice system because of your lies, because you couldn't get your way, and you figured the only way to get your way was to file a complaint against him with the police department, so you went down there once. And your story was totally different, by the way, in your complaint than what you just testified to, because you're so stupid you can't even get your facts straight.
That's nice.
You say that he was going to get somebody to take care of you. Well, that's not what you testified to. You said, if anybody tries to get me out of here, I'm going to be able to take care of the situation, not take care of you. That was the first time you went to the police. And then when the police would do nothing, because you figured you'd go down there, cry a couple of tears, and they would be very sympathetic, they would come and throw him out. Then you had 3 friends over. You had already packed up all of his stuff. It was already in a big bundle, so you knew there was no gun upstairs in his room because the room was cleared out.
Exactly.
and because he wasn't going fast enough for you, you called the police and you had him arrested. You've got some nerve. You're a manipulative, maniacal young lady who worked the system, and he got punished for it.
5 days in jail.
Ultimately, the case was dismissed. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
I wish I could put her in jail for 5 days.
That's all I want.
Listen to me. I wish I could put her in jail for 1 day so that she would know how it felt to lose your liberty when somebody is lying because they didn't get their way. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He's just a huge liar. He's a complete liar.
She had a 4-bedroom, only 2 people were living there. Paying her. She was taking trips and paying car notes.
He insulted me, degraded me, and he was hostile, violent, and I'm living in this house by myself, renting him out a room, doing him a favor.
I didn't need to be in jail. No, I have money. It wasn't about money.
I'm not going to do favors for anybody, especially people like him.
I came here to get justice. Justice was prevailed.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Minks versus Boris. Step forward, please.
Prototype machinist Ted Minks is suing his ex-wife, student Susan Boris, for closing their son's bank accounts and stealing the money.
When were you two people married?
We were married until February the 5th was the final.
2503, and you have children?
Yes, we do, 2, Your Honor.
2 boys?
Yes, Your Honor.
How old are they?
14 and 10.
Who has custody of the children?
I do, Your Honor.
All of that is correct so far?
It's joint physical, legal custody. So,
that wasn't a complete sentence. Can we have the whole sentence, please?
part of it's true. It's joint physical custody, Your Honor.
You have joint physical custody, and who has primary legal custody?
Mr. Minks does, Your Honor.
This is your complaint, that there existed bank accounts. The bank accounts were for the boys, and the custodian of those accounts was your former wife.
That is true, Your Honor.
And when the children, when you became their primary legal custodian, you wanted access to the account because you just wanted to move, I don't know what you wanted to do with the accounts, and you found out that the defendant had in fact closed the accounts.
If I may, I am the full physical custodian of the two children. We have joint legal, so it's the other way around. And yes, that is true. She did close the accounts and take the money from the children, and they did ask for those monies back.
How much was in each of the accounts?
I believe one was $365 and the other was $110.
So far correct?
No, Your Honor.
How much was in the accounts?
When I closed the account, one was $134 and the other was $11.
Can I see a history of the accounts, please? There wasn't a lot of money in these accounts, sir. The average balance for the last 12 months was $103.87. And that says for the average balance the last 12 months. Did you know how much money was in these accounts?
I had a good idea. I did not get regular statements, no.
Did you withdraw any other money out of these accounts for the children? Other than the monies that you withdrew, $103 and $63 when you closed them?
I withdrew some cash that I put in for my check to pay for an orthodontic bill for Joe. I had been putting money into their account for like transition because I was filing for divorce from Mr. Minks, and I was trying to hide the money from him. So, and then,
babe, you can't do that, because the account that you opened, the tax responsible customer, according to the accounts that you opened, were the children.
Correct.
You gave the children Social Security number. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
You made a gift to the children, an irrevocable gift to the children of any money that you put in this account, and you put a stamp on that when you said, I don't pay any income tax on the interest. The children do, and here's the children's Social Security number, because they can accumulate so much interest without having to pay taxes on it. So you can't cut it both ways. You can't hide money from the IRS, and you can't hide money from him. Simple. Now, you could transfer the money from those accounts from one bank to another. You can take that money and you can buy a bond, as long as it's in the same amount. You can take that money and you can buy stocks as long as you're acting reasonably, I assume. But you can't take that money and pay for your own expenses and hide money because you're going through a divorce. You can't do that. Simple.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So now I have to know how much money was in the accounts, and I have to see a statement of the account. How long were you planning this divorce?
Since July.
I want to see a statement of the account prior to that.
I don't have one, Your Honor. There's an order of protection Mr. Minks put on me. I have no access to my records.
Fine. Since I don't have that information, I'm going to direct that that information be faxed to Chambers from your bank within the next 24 hours. What was the date of your separation?
November 18th, I believe it was. Yeah.
That was the date of your separation. When did the trouble start?
Can you be more specific?
Well, when do you think, Mr. Minks, that your former wife would have started to secrete money in the children's account?
I would have no way of anticipating that.
When did you get the first clue that she didn't like you?
She gave, I believe I was filed, she gave me some self-help divorce papers in November.
In November?
Yeah.
That was your first clue she didn't like you?
We have had ups and downs, but generally they smooth out over time, so I had anticipated.
Well, if she gave you self-help papers in November, that doesn't mean she woke up one morning, Mr. Minks, and said, today I'm going to get the papers. That means maybe she was thinking about it in September or October or July of 2002. Do you understand?
A reasonable person would do so, yes.
Yeah, a reasonable person would think that that's probably a possibility. So what I'm going to have you do, Ms. Boris, is to furnish this court within 24 hours bank statements on these two accounts dating back to June of 2002. The highest amount that was contained in these accounts for each of the boys will be the amount that the court will incorporate in a judgment. Do you understand?
I do, Your Honor.
You got my order?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good. Thank you very much. That's all.
Parties asked. Yeah, this is case number 126 on the calendar in the matter of Collins versus Borigirdi. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Mr. and Mrs. Collins, it is your claim that the defendant vandalized your van.
Yes, ma'am.
Van is in both of your names. That's why you're both here. The defendant says she didn't do it, and your accusation is ridiculous. Mr. Collins, I gather that when you were briefly separated from your wife, you dated also very briefly the defendant. It's your claim that when you got back with your wife, the two ladies didn't get along, and then there has been a series of altercations between the two of them.
Sure.
Culminating in this incident with your van. So when was your van vandalized? When was your van vandalized?
On January 6th, 2003.
And where had it been parked, sir?
In a church parking lot.
Are you affiliated with the church?
No, I'm not.
What was it doing there?
The church basically lets the apartment complex park, because we don't have too much parking in our apartment complex, so they let cars park there if there's no parking.
So this happened January 6, 2003. Did you see the defendant vandalize your car?
No, ma'am.
Who did?
Actually, nobody witnessed it. The only thing that we have is my wife's friend, Heather, who's sitting right here. She's seen Miss Borigirdi leaving in her car the night when that happened.
She came to our house about 4:30 in the morning.
On what morning?
The day his car got vandalized, at the 6th?
Yes, the
6th. She came over banging on our door.
Did you go over to their house 4:30 in the morning?
I went at 2 in the morning after they had broken my car window.
Okay, so you went there 2 in the morning. And why did you go there 2 in the morning?
Basically, after I made the police report, I went over there to confront her to tell her to pay for my car.
You thought that Mrs. Collins broke your car window.
I walked out and saw her car by my car drive away, and she yelled at me, "That's what you get." With both of them in the
just
car.
A minute, and she, they were both in the car.
And my
And you
friend
went there
here
at 2
witnessed
o'clock
that
in the
also.
morning.
Yeah.
Well, that was stupid.
I know, I guess it was, but I
Well,
mean,
have you been doing other stupid things to them?
Nothing stupid, no.
Huh?
No, ma'am.
So at 2 o'clock in the morning, you went over there and told them to pay for the window. And what did they do?
She just kept saying that she didn't do it and get out of here, I'm going to call the police. And I just kept saying, you did do it. I want you to pay for it. Go ahead, call the police, because I'm not doing anything wrong. Tell them to come here.
So you went over there to have an argument with her?
Basically, I guess.
Yes.
I called the...
Sorry. You went over there to have an argument with her, and you did?
Yeah.
And did you get satisfaction? Did she pay for the window?
No, she didn't.
So I assume that when you left, you were very angry.
Well, I just...
Of course you were. You were very angry when you went over there. So when you got no satisfaction, you were even angrier when you left. Is that a fair statement? Of course it is. Stand up here. Tell me your name.
Heather Roberts.
You saw her car?
Yes.
What time?
It was after the cops had left, so it was like early morning around
After
there.
the cops had left who?
Their house.
Our house. They came to our house.
And you all lived together?
No.
No, she came
I
to
came
pick up
over
my daughter.
to get the baby.
What baby?
Her baby.
For what?
Because of all that conflict.
I didn't want the baby around.
Yeah.
Are you a neighbor?
Well, I'm her best friend.
She's my daughter's
I just
godmother.
live like a block away.
And you were there after the police left?
Yeah.
What did you see?
I saw her car, and I saw her with the blonde girl getting into the car next to the church parking lot. And then I left.
Had you seen a blonde girl there that evening?
They came to my door. Her and that lady came to my door, screaming and yelling. They threatened our car. We have incident reports, we have police reports, everything.
Your
She
Honor?
left before the cops. We told her to wait, and she left.
Is there anything else around this church parking lot?
Not really.
Now, when you say you saw the defendant's car, had it been parked?
Yeah. It was like if you pull up in front of the church, the parking lot next to it's not that far away.
The location where you saw them getting into the car, was that a parking space or was it just...
It was on the street.
What does that mean on the street?
Fire zone.
Pulled up in front of the church.
So it's not a parking space?
No.
Actually,
it's
it
just
was-
on the street.
I'm not speaking to you. So it is not a parking space?
No.
That's all I wanted to know.
Thank you.
Can I see damage to the van?
Yes. I have pictures of all the damage. You want police reports?
Yes.
I got estimates, bill of sale on the vehicle, towing.
What do you mean bill of sale?
It got towed.
It got towed.
We couldn't move it.
And I couldn't pay for the towing costs or anything like that. It was towed because it was vandalized in a church parking lot.
It was towed because it was vandalized in a church parking lot. Well, that's not a violation of the law.
The church
I
towed
know,
it. The church towed it because we couldn't move it.
And I also have...
Just a sec. Don't give me a lot of baloney. Vandalized doesn't mean that you can't drive it.
The tires were slashed, and the windows were all busted out. There's glass everywhere.
There's blood all over the car.
Yeah, it wasn't drivable.
There's blood all over the
There
car?
was blood
There was
all over
blood.
the car.
It's a malicious act.
One of you must have gotten hurt when you did this to the car. Police saw fresh blood on the ground. Okay. What is this that you're giving me?
It's a bill of sale.
No, it isn't. It's baloney.
That's what, I mean, we didn't...
It's baloney.
That's the only thing that we had. We didn't have any documents or anything like that. We just signed over the car, and I asked them for a bill of sale.
Let me explain something to you, sir. You see something's written over here?
Yeah. At the time, when we were signing it, the pen ran out of ink. If you could see in my signature, it's also like kind of faded. It was running out of ink, and then we had to grab another pen. There's nothing phony about that, actually, Your Honor.
Could somebody find out the book value on a 1987 van, GMC Safari minivan? Or do you think you can get me that information from the Blue Book?
Sure.
Thank you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Either you're the worst horse trader or you're just a bad fibber. So you try to give me this piece of garbage, which is meaningless, nothing. You made it up yesterday.
And later today,
He's cussing and he's screaming. He's going to kill the dog. He's going to barbecue it. He's going to skin it alive. She was hysterical. She thought he was going to kill me, come back and kill her. He terrified us.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Chad and Patty Collins claim Chad's ex-girlfriend, Maury Borigierdi, vandalized their van.
What is it again?
It's a 1987 GMC Safari minivan. Let's get it in fair condition.
Okay. Fair condition. I think it's $750.
$750. So you see, Mr. Collins, either you're the worst horse trader or you're just a bad fibber, because you say you paid $3,000 for the car. Where'd you get $3,000 from?
Actually, I didn't pay the whole $3,000. I paid $500 up front, and I'm still paying it off right now.
Show me.
Show you?
Yeah.
I don't have any proof of that right now.
Right.
I do not.
Correct. You see, I didn't even know that when I said this was a lot of baloney. Because if this is a bill of sale, it would have said that you were purchasing a car for $3,000 with a $500 deposit and the rest being paid at the rate of $100 a week or $200 a week. Do you understand? So you try to give me this piece of garbage, which is meaningless, nothing. You made it up yesterday, so that it goes in the garbage. That's one thing. Now, so far, I gather that you paid $500 for this old van, if that. The van, according to the Blue Book, is worth $750. You're suing her for $4,000. That means your 87 Safari is the only one in town that's appreciated in value in the last 8 months. Do you understand, Mr. Collins?
Yeah, I understand.
You got it. Good. I'm glad. You got it. I mean, I don't know whether you think that everybody's stupid, but I guarantee you, not all people over 40 are stupid. And as we get older, some of us get smarter. However, you vandalized his van. You and your girlfriend. I don't know which one of you got cut, and quite frankly, I don't give a rat's behind which one of you got cut. You did it because you were in a bad mood, in a foul mood. You called the police. You couldn't even control yourself, because after you called the police, you went storming over to their house. Quiet! You went storming over to their house. You were furious. It was in the middle of the night, and you got zero satisfaction. You and your girlfriend found his van and proceeded to slash his tires and bust out the windows. That's going to cost you $750. Judgment for the plaintiff. Get out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She can't get over the fact that I don't want him. She thinks I want him.
She's obsessed. She needs help.
I obviously broke up with him for a reason.
She calls, peeks out the window, follows him around.
She's insecure and pathetic, actually.
It's really sad.
Get a life. And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Davis versus Kennedy. Step forward, please.
Contractor Mike Davis is suing his neighbor, realtor Sheila Kennedy, for the cost of 48 chickens. Mike claims Sheila's dachshund killed them.
Mr. Davis, you and Miss Kennedy are neighbors, I gather, from your complaint. And you, for some bizarre reason, decided to get your daughter a whole bunch of chickens for pets or whatever. Miss Kennedy had a little dachshund dog. And it is your claim that her dog, being attracted by your chickens, used to dig a hole under the fence, I assume, get in there and kill your chickens. So you want her to pay, I don't know, $1,400 for dead chickens. Ms. Kennedy says, A, you don't have any proof that my dog actually did this dastardly deed, but that you made her life and the life of her daughter so miserable that she's counterclaiming for harassment. She says because you were so miserable, she had to give her dog away. She gave her dog to the pound because she was afraid that you were going to come and hurt the dog. Do you live in a residential neighborhood, or is it a farm?
It's residential, half-acre horse property.
Well, that's not a very big property. How many chickens did you buy your daughter?
Over the years, they allowed horses, goats. We've had goats on the property.
Just answer my
Total
question.
of chickens, 52 chickens.
52 chickens.
One a week for a whole year.
Why did you do that?
My daughter's had chickens since she was in diapers.
Well, that's fine, but why 52? Why not 3? Or 5, or something manageable?
We just accumulated 52 by, just off number, but that's how many accumulated over the years.
When did you begin noticing that the birds were dying?
Approximately 2 years ago.
And 2 years ago, did you think that Miss Kennedy's dog was the responsible culprit?
No.
How did you think they were dying?
Well, they're not really dying. They come up missing. Yeah. I work 12-hour days, so I'm gone all day long. My wife's got me trained. I just go to work, keep my mouth shut. And so over the last couple of years, we see a couple of chickens missing here and there, and we just keep buying them, keep buying them, keep buying them. I'm even housebroken. But anyways, we just accumulate these chickens over the years. We didn't notice it for the first year, but after the second year, their dog came over in our yard, friends with our dogs, our neighbors. But after a while, then we started seeing the dog's tracks from our property back over to their property. You know, we go underneath the neighbor's fence, then back over their fence. And then we did catch the dog a couple of times in the chicken pen. And when he got away quick enough, my daughters chased it out a couple of times. But one time personally, when I went back in there, I did find 2 dead chickens. It snaps the necks, that's what it does. That's how it kills them.
Did you actually ever see her dog kill any of your chickens?
Actually kill it? No.
Did you actually see her dog with any of your chickens in its mouth?
I did find my chickens, or parts of my chickens, in her dog's backyard. We used to have a joke about it. It was called a con dog. The dog would come over, get into the chicken pen. You follow me now to my house so I can kill you there, or I kill you here.
So who was smarter, the chickens or the dogs?
It's definitely the dog. Definitely the dog. Chickens aren't too bright. Look at this
Mr. Davis.
one here.
Come on, Mr. Davis, you know. I mean, I can't get too exercised over this. You understand that?
Yes.
It wasn't a vicious dog or anything.
Only on chickens. People, other dogs, it's fine. No problem at all.
You think that any actions that you took caused Miss Kennedy to get rid of her dog?
By all means.
What did you do?
I was over her house 3 times in the last 2 years.
Did you get a little bit nuts?
Yes. Final time I did, I admit. I did apologize. I didn't know the kids were there. This is the first time I ever saw the kids. It was the 3rd time I was over her house.
What did you expect her to do with her dog?
I asked the first time just to fence it off. Fence her property off. Keep the dog in your own yard. Do what is necessary.
Why didn't you do that, Miss Kennedy?
I did. We have a fence around the whole yard. It just kept digging out. It's a Dachshund. They're known for digging. I did everything I could. Even in the picture of my dog, you can see I have bricks all along the fences. Every time it would dig, I'd put something in it. I tried everything I could to keep the dog in the yard. I couldn't. The chickens
That's a Dachshund?
are bigger than the dog.
That's a Dachshund?
That's a Dachshund.
Looks like there's a little bit of a beagle in there.
It probably was a mix. It's not a purebred.
No, it isn't.
No. It's a tiny dog.
A little tall for a dog.
A little tall for Dachshund is right. Well, it evidently doesn't like chickens. Or likes to sort of con them. Looks to me as if she did, in fact, try, Mr. Davis, to keep her dog in. She wasn't very successful, though.
Your Honor, the main thing that I was concerned about is it's not the cost of the chickens or anything. This is our only daughter. We don't have any other kids. And we've had a goat there on the property. She had chickens long before. She's got 2 dogs. She has a thing about dressing animals up. She dresses her dogs up and takes them down, parades them. She took 2 of these baby chicks that she had as a day old. She raised them up to 4 months. She dresses them up in little baby clothes. And this is when she was younger, of course. And she would parade down the main street for the parade, you know, the kids' pet parade. You know, it just sort of keep her occupied, keep her mind off boys, you know.
Sounds, Mr. Davis, all sounds terrific.
Mm-hmm.
Shh. So what you're telling me is you lost it the 3rd time around because your only child was upset.
Very.
It's not an excuse for losing it. I mean, it does look as if Miss Kennedy tried to keep her dog inside.
Mm-hmm.
She's got a fence, she's got bricks, but other than tethering the dog to a tree or something, there isn't much you can do. Dog wants to get out, dog's going to get out. I mean, it looks to me as if they were trying to keep their dog on their property. The whole thing is very unfortunate, but not something that belongs in the courtroom. You know, Miss Kennedy's counterclaim was that Mr. Davis came over to your house and scared you to death.
Yes, absolutely.
Want to tell me about that?
Sure. He came over, he followed me into the driveway. I have 4 kids. I have 2 younger than this. And I was trying to get the kids out of the car and into the house. He comes storming out of his truck and screaming at me again about the chickens, which the last episode was over a year ago. So I thought, oh, here he comes again about the chickens. So this time he's cussing and he's screaming and he's gonna kill the dog, he's gonna barbecue it, he's gonna skin it alive. I'm telling him, could you just stop and wait till the kids get into the house? It's her dog, it's Alexis's dog. She was just hysterical. She was crying, shut up, shut up. She's running into the house, slamming the door. She thought he was going to kill me. He thought she was going to come back and kill her. I took the dog immediately to the pound after he left and gave it to the pound. I said, you know, she was devastated, but I just could not have him come to my house again. I have these 4 kids, it's just me, and he terrified us.
Go ahead.
When I pulled up to the property, I got out of my truck and I was raising Cain. When I noticed there was 2 kids, she asked me to stop. I did stop, and I said, quote, I apologize, but this crap has got to stop.
So it stopped. It stopped because she took the dog, and she put the dog in the pound, and hopefully the dog was adopted by some lovely family. I'm sure that the dog was adopted by some lovely family that didn't have chickens as a next-door neighbor. Right. That takes care of your counterclaim. It all just went a little bit too far. Mr. Davis, there are lots of reasons that your chicks could come up missing. One reason could be a stranger's dog, could be another neighbor's dog, according to you. There were lots of dogs around the neighborhood that played in the yard. It's unfortunate, but I don't think she's responsible. I think she exercised reasonable caution in trying to prevent from happening, keeping her dog penned in. Didn't work out. She had enough, and she gave the dog away. Not every action requires a lawsuit. This is one of those cases. How many chicks do you have left?
Right now, I have 4 chickens. One of them was not in the pen where they were being attacked from.
Right now you have 4. Is that right?
Correct.
That's enough. That's all.
Case number 133 on the calendar, Your Honor, in the matter of McFerrin versus Wimberly. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
Miss McFerrin, Mr. Wimberly is your former husband.
Yes.
And this young lady is his present wife.
Yes.
Who is this gentleman?
This is my fiance.
How long were you and Mr. Wimberly married?
We were legally married about 4 to 5 years, but together 13 years.
And you have children?
Mm-hmm.
How many children do you
We
have?
have 2 children.
How old are they?
7 and 10.
And who has primary physical custody of the children?
I do.
When do the children go to visit Mr. Wimberly?
He gets them on the 1st, 3rd, and 5th weekends of the month. And he gets them at Christmas and holidays. We alternate, and a month out of the summer.
You say no, sir.
No, I get him whenever she wants me to see, lets me see him.
Well, that's your fault. Because if you are entitled to the 1st, 3rd, and 5th weekend of each month, plus Christmas and holidays or whatever, and if you choose not to exercise that visitation, you can't blame it on anybody else.
I go to the places to pick him up, Your Honor, and she doesn't bring him.
Then you take her to court, and you file for contempt of the order.
That costs money.
Of visitation. No, it doesn't. You can go into court without a lawyer. I'm telling you that, Mr. Wimberly. That's where I was for a long time.
Okay.
You pay child support as well.
Yes, Your Honor.
How much do you pay in child support?
$200 a week, $10,400 a year.
This is what your lawsuit is about, Ms. McFerrin. That when the children were visiting their father on 2 separate occasions, their stepmother cut their hair. And did she color one of their hair as well?
The 10-year-old, she had it bleach blonde.
The boy?
Yes.
And then it is your claim that after she did that, she took your daughter, who's 7, in to have her ear pierced? All of this without your permission?
All of it without my permission.
And then she called Child Protective Services and made complaints about you.
Right.
For all of that, you want her to pay you thousands of dollars, $5,000.
And false police reports.
And false police reports. She says that the kids wanted new hairstyles, which is why she did it. And your daughter, who's 7, wanted her ear pierced, which is why she did it. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
And she did call Child Protective Services because she says that the allegations were true.
Yes, ma'am.
So I have a couple of questions for you, sir. Just for you.
Okay.
When your children came to visit you, on what day was the first haircut?
The first one was June 25th, 2002.
And it's acknowledged you agree that you were not involved in this beautician stuff. Is that right?
Well, I mean, I knew it was taking place. I mean, I was there.
You were there?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, they're my kids. I mean, if they want a haircut and it's a birthday and they want the haircut, I'm going to give them a haircut. I mean.
Just a second. You were there when your son's hair was bleached?
Yes. That was the one was in Louisiana. Yes, ma'am.
Why did you permit that?
He's 10 years old. It's his birthday. He wanted his hair changed. I mean, he's 10 years old. I don't see the problem with that.
When the children get their hair cut and when Krishna got her ears pierced, Neil knew about it. Mr.
I don't care whether they knew about it or not.
I have a tape saying he didn't know about the ear piercing.
Is that right, sir?
I knew about the ear piercing. I wasn't present at the ear piercing.
Well, did your wife call and say to you, I'd appreciate it if you didn't cut the kids' hair when they're with you?
I'm not saying she didn't, Your
I'm
Honor.
asking you whether she did.
I don't recall.
Did you call and say to him, please
Yes,
don't
I
cut-"
said, I told them, do not touch her hair again, because at the time I wasn't worried about my son.
That was June of 2002. And then in
and
July...
the very next time they went, she cut it again. It was less than
Which
a
is
month.
just a second. Why did you cut their hair again if their mother had said, don't do it?
I was never told by Miss McFerrin never to cut their hair.
Wasn't your husband?
Not to my knowledge, he wasn't. Maybe through the children he might have been, but I never heard anything about it.
Do husbands, I mean, do fathers have rights?
That's not what I'm asking you. In my court, fathers have a lot of rights if they use their brains. If you're using your children to irritate her, then you're an idiot. and you're not being a good father. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor, it's not
All
like
right.
that.
Then what I'm asking you is, did your former wife call you and say, do me a favor, please don't cut our daughter's hair?
I wasn't that nice.
Or you better not cut their hair again if they're with you. Do you recall that?
I do not recall that. I'm not saying she didn't. I do not recall that. But I do not like talking to her, so.
It's hard to have a civil conversation.
Let me explain something to you. You are, within the context of this family, between these two people, a non-entity.
Mm-hmm.
And what I found most interesting about your answer was that you keep referring to the fact that we have custody. We, meaning the two of you, have joint custody of the children. My husband and I share custody of his two children with Tina. You do not. You do not have anything.
That's right.
He has. So you do not exercise any jurisdiction over these children.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
The other thing that struck me is that the thing that really bothers you is that he pays, according to you, $866 of monthly child support that I'm sure burns your tail.
No, ma'am.
It's even in police report and CPS reports. They complain about having to pay child support.
Yeah. It bothers me when I pay it when I don't see my kids. And she doesn't work.
Mr. Wimberly, you should not allow your wife to do anything that irritates the mother of your children.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Do you understand me, Mr. Wimberly?
I understand that I had no rights then.
You are dumb as a bucket of rocks.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tina McFerrin says her ex-husband's new wife, Lori Wimberly, cut her children's hair and pierced her daughter's ears without her permission. She also claims Lori filed false reports with CPS.
Your job is to make sure that you and your wife, how old are you, by the way?
28.
And how old is she?
19.
She
and
just
you've been
turned
together
19.
how long?
Since
2
she was
years.
16.
Shut! I didn't speak to you.
2 years.
Your job is to make sure that you or your teenage bride don't do anything to upset the mother of your children, who is the children's custodian, because even though you've made some mistakes, which you have, Mr. Wimberly, I know that you have.
I'm not saying I'm
social
perfect.
mistakes. Even though you've made certain social mistakes, the children are the innocents. So that if you know that it irritates the custodian of your children for you or your teenage bride to take them to the hairdresser and have their hair chopped, then you say to your bride, don't do it. I don't want to put the children in the middle of this. I don't want to upset her, because after all, they have to go back to her. Do you understand me, Mr. Wimberly?
I understand that I had no rights then.
You are dumb as a bucket of rocks. Don't you understand what I just said to you? Aren't you have rights, sir? Your responsibility is to see to it that your children are not stressed by living with a custodian that you purposely stress out. Because if what you're saying to me at age 28, that you don't understand the difference between what your rights are, yeah, I could take my kids and I can take them to have their hair cut. I have rights, I'm a father. And then your kids have to go home and listen to her shrieking because you cut their hair. I'm saying to you, your responsibility is different from your right. Do you get it now?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, you may choose to ignore it. If you do so, then two innocent people, that is your children, are going to continue to suffer because you are a pig-headed, dumb as a bucket of rocks father who's 28 years old, couldn't keep his pants zipped, got together with a 16-year-old, left their children, left their wife, and married somebody who was 17 years old, who he allows in 2002, when she was 17 years old, 2001, to take his children to a hairdresser and have their hair chopped off twice. That's what you did, sir.
And, Your Honor, also, they've done these false police reports that I have to continually deal with.
What
CPS
false police reports, Ms. McFerrin?
This one was for April 22nd, 2002. And they said I kicked their dog, and I kicked it so much that its guts were coming out.
It died.
No, Your Honor,
And
that's not right.
I killed the dog.
Who saw her kick the dog?
I did. She showed up at my residence.
I was in the shower, Your Honor.
She showed up.
It was midnight, beating on my house, and she went to the door. I was in the shower.
It was around 11:30.
What'd you go to the house for?
It was about 10 o'clock in the evening.
What did you go to the
pick up
house?
my children's baseball uniforms that they did not send back after the weekend visit.
What time did you go to the house to get them?
I called them about 10 o'clock, right before 10, to discuss it with them about the uniforms and asked them to bring them to the house.
And?
They refused. They said, we're not bringing it.
Who did you speak to?
Lori, because I'm not allowed to talk to Neil.
Why not?
She will not let me talk to him.
Okay. Yeah, remember having that conversation with her?
I do remember that. I had asked her if we could meet somewhere because she waited so late in the evening, and she refused. She said, bring it to my house, and she hung up the phone and kept hanging up the phone, and then at 11:30, 12, she shows up, banging on the door. I heard a big boom in the front of the house, and
When I spoke with her on the phone,
I had opened the door, and she was walking down. We have like a patio kind of, and I just saw her. She kicked a can full of nails because we were building, and then she kicked the puppy, and the dog ran off.
That's a lie.
Shh. Let me see the police report.
She doesn't even mention it.
The police doubt your story. They say that the puppy had an old cast on its leg.
No, it was a new cast.
No, the police said that the puppy had an old, dirty cast on his paw.
No.
That's what the police said.
It was outright lie.
And that you said yourself to the police that the dog had broken its leg because you stepped on its paw a few days earlier.
When she ran out there, and when I got out there, she was already leaving. She had called the cops. The nails were everywhere, and the dog was screaming, and the next day the dog would not eat or nothing, and the dog died. His whole stomach was exploded. He could not eat. He died.
Your Honor, they don't even have a fence around their yard. Why would they leave a pet that's injured out in the front yard?
Well,
There's no animals.
He was holding the pet, according to the police officer, anyway. What I'm telling you is, you got to stop doing this to each other, because what you're doing is hurting your children.
You're right.
They're in counseling
Well,
now.
but you know, you're right. But it seems to me that you are doing things, Mr. Wimberly, to exacerbate a problem. If you returned the children to their mother after a visitation and neglected to put their uniforms into their bag, how far is it to her house?
About 25 miles.
25, then you get in your car and you bring the uniforms.
See, she called in late. I work. I go in at 4. I go in at 4 in the morning.
Don't speak. I'm not speaking to you.
I work. She doesn't work. I can't get up at midnight and do an hour turnaround when I got going at 4.
She didn't call you at midnight?
She called at 10. But at 10 o'clock, being at o'clock, we were at work at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Just listen to me, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, you're going to fall over your own tie. She called you at 10. According to you, she doesn't work, so she could have come over to get him because you work at 4 o'clock in the morning, so you were going to sleep. Is that right?
I wasn't asleep, but I should have been.
Just a second. Then you just told me that you didn't see what happened outside because you were in the shower the whole time.
I was in the shower. That's
right.
Well, if you were in the shower, sir, then you weren't sleeping.
I wasn't sleeping.
That's right. So if you weren't sleeping and if you wanted to keep peace, so you weren't sleeping 2 hours later, you could have gotten up at 10 o'clock from the couch where you were watching TV, gotten in the car because you forgot the uniforms, driven them over there, and been back by 11. Then you could have been in the shower by 11:30 and not had all this problem. You were the ones who forgot the uniforms, right?
Yes, sure.
You weren't going to sleep. You don't do things to frustrate her. That should be first and foremost in your mind. Not who's right, who's wrong, I've got to exercise my rights. That's what you do.
Your Honor, when she went and got my daughter's ear pierced, she signed this form stating that she is the parent or guardian. They were not even married at that time, and he did not know about the ear piercing. And I have a tape saying that when they got home, I was surprised about it.
He didn't know about the ear piercing. Isn't that right, sir?
I knew they were going to do it.
He was called. I had called him from my cell phone when we were at Walmart. We went to Walmart. Krishna was looking at earrings. I wish my mommy would have pierced my ears. And
then you say what? What would you say today?
We had waited for.
Now we'll say no.
Waited for Tina to do it.
My daughter has.
It's not your job. They're not your children. You take them to lunch, you take them to a movie, you take them to a park, you take them to the beach. If your husband's not around, if he's working, and he should always be around when the children are there. When you have visitation with your children, there should never be a time when you are not with your children, sir.
Only when I work on Saturdays.
Then if you work on Saturdays, sir, then maybe they should be with their mother on Saturday.
Yes, ma'am.
Because this is going to be friction. I'm going to explain why it's going to be friction. Because your wife probably wants to have a child with you. You don't have children together?
No, ma'am.
But she probably would. What?
That's her whole upset, I think.
No.
She would probably like to have children.
No, Your Honor, we were pregnant at one time, and we miscarried, and Miss McFerrin drove all the way to my residence to say congratulations on the baby when she found out that we had lost it.
She's evil. That's evil.
I swear to life on that.
Evil.
Exactly.
It's not what I'm saying to you.
Sure,
What I'm
understand.
saying to you is you want to have a family. She
Eventually.
would like to have a family.
Yes,
It's
Your Honor.
frustrating for her knowing that it's going to be financially difficult for her to have a family because you're paying so much out of what you earned for your old family. I've heard this 100 times before. What I'm saying to you, sir, is you have to be smart. You have to say, if I'm going to have visitation with my children, I have to be there. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Now let's get back to visitation.
The children are in counseling right now because they have told the children if they live with me, I'm going to kill them. They have told the children I have AIDS. They will not come pick them up.
Go ahead.
Can I speak for 1 second? Okay, the weekend that we cut my children's hair in Louisiana, we came back. That following Wednesday, we had received a letter in the mail. Circumstances beyond her control, which to me sound like she cannot drive. She cannot bring him to the meeting point in the divorce decree.
Why couldn't you meet them?
Because this is what they did to my children's hair, and I wasn't going to do anything to help them out to do it.
That's wrong. Absolutely wrong.
Right.
You don't get even by harming your children.
Right. That's why I said they can come get them.
What did I say to him?
Exactly.
You sound like you sound like you suffer from the same dumb as a bucket of rock syndrome. When was the last time you saw your children?
When I cut their hair, I ain't seen them in over 2 months.
Well, that's outrageous.
April 8th.
When are you supposed to see them again?
I get them July 1st.
I'm sorry.
You have nothing to do with this. This is not your business. Don't you understand that?
I'm supposed to.
This is not your business.
July 1st, I was supposed to get them for a month. I didn't see them on Father's Day or nothing.
Well, are you planning to take the children to the meeting place so we can pick them up July 1st?
As long as their counselor says that
No.
they're stable enough
Listen
to
to
go.
me. As long as there's a court order for visitation, it's your responsibility to comply with that order. Do you understand?
Yes.
I mean, I certainly hope that somebody is going to say to you, as frankly as I'm saying to you,